quieten your spirit to actually pray. What a challenge that is. Huge challenge, isn't it? Friends, let me just encourage you, plan to pray. Plan your praying. Do you have a system? Do you have a plan? If not, let me commend it to you. I think I can guarantee you will notice a difference in your praying if you have a system. What about the time of prayer with family, with your small group, with the church prayer gathering? Are those things, are they blocked off? Are they guarded in some way? I can guarantee you this, they won't happen if they are not planned.
Jonathan Griffiths with today's Moment of Truth. To learn more, visit encounterthetruth.org. That's encounterthetruth.org.
Loving God with our hearts and our minds. It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios on Moody Radio Cleveland. WCRF Cleveland. WVMS Sandusky. WVML Millersburg. WVMN Newcastle. WVME Meadville. WVMU Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The Real ID deadline is Wednesday. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The Trump administration says all states will need to comply by the May 7th deadline. Real ID is an enhanced security driver's license that will be needed to board any domestic airline flight in lieu of a passport. The name of a Cleveland firefighter who died of cancer now holds a spot in memoriam. Sean Calvey's name, along with the names of 139 others from across the country, was added over the weekend to the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial in Maryland. And a Canton woman is facing charges in connection with the abuse of her young daughter. Police say the 26-year-old woman failed to protect the 4-year-old child from violence committed by her husband. In sports, the Cavaliers fell to the Pacers 121-112 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Guardians edged the Blue Jays 5-4, while the Pirates got shut out by the Padres 4-0. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. A dense fog advisory remains in effect until 10 a.m. this morning for areas including Sandusky, Norwalk, Lorraine-Elyria, Cleveland, Medina, Ashland, and Mansfield. Otherwise, mostly cloudy today. Widespread dense fog in the morning. A chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Highs will be in the upper 60s. At last check, mostly cloudy and 50 degrees in Cleveland, fog and 46 in Akron, and in Mansfield, fog and 45 degrees.
It's time for your Moron Moment.
5 beautiful lakes, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Ontario, and Erie, are celebrated on Great Lakes Awareness Day, which takes place on the Monday in the first full week of May. This year, it's May 5th. This event is our chance to honor this series of large, interconnected freshwater lakes that create America's North Coast. Celebrate by planning a trip to Lakeside or the Islands, Edgewater or Huntington Beach, Mentor Headlands, or Presque Isle. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's a brand new week. Good morning. I don't often start a week upset with a calendar. I haven't been upset with a calendar very often, to be honest with you. But this is a year where I'm deeply disappointed.
Oh, no.
In how things worked out on the calendar. Ron, would you like to just kind of do this with me, sir? How could it be a Sunday? I'm going to pretend like for a moment it's actually May 4th. It's not. It's the 5th. But Ron, May the 4th be with you.
And also with you.
Amen.
Not amen.
Yes.
No.
It's finished. Yes.
That's not what
No.
amen means.
What does it mean?
And may it be so.
Well, that's even better. That sounds like Yoda, kind of. Awesome. Yeah. And I actually, I tipped my cap today to a guy who listens to the show regularly from down in Amish country. We call him Mayor Phil. He texted me last night, and he said, May the 4th be with you.
Cute.
Oh, way to go, Phil.
And I felt seen and heard. And then I was disappointed in myself for not texting Ron.
Yeah, I thought about it before I went to church and then got caught up in something and didn't.
Church, maybe?
Well, I guess. but my pastor did, from the pulpit, say, how many of you are Star Wars fans?
Oh.
May the 4th be with you.
What a great pastor. Did anyone say it also with you? Or is that just our thing?
In the lobby, our youth pastor, David Ivey, who's been on the show, he greeted me. I greeted him because he had his lightsaber with him. So I said,
Yes!
May the 4th be with you. And he said, and also with you.
Very good.
So
Who invented that? Did we invent that, Ron? I don't think we
No,
did.
'cause
And
someone
also
in-
with you?
Who
Someone
brought
in
a
my
lightsaber to church?
yeah, that's a lot.
A really awesome person. The
Yes.
Someone in my small group messaged the group chat early yesterday morning. May the 4th be with you, and someone did reply, and also with you.
Yeah.
What a great
It's
small
catching.
group. I wondered about you guys. Now I know you're great. I bet Daria and Jimmy celebrated May the 4th.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, are you okay?
Ron, oh no.
Are you all right?
I don't understand the question.
You did have a big weekend, though. Your brother was in town.
Yeah, my brother and his girlfriend spent the weekend with us. His girlfriend, Aubrey, there was a concert that they wanted to go to in Cleveland. I had literally never heard of the band, didn't even know the name of them till we got there.
What was the name of the... Do you remember now, the name of the band?
Rains, spelled weird.
Okay,
But
so singer-songwriter?
Yeah, it was
Yep.
kind of like a folk rock pop type thing. But tickets are
Sounds like you loved it.
No, they were fine. They did a good job. What wasn't quite my thing. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I'd known any of the music beforehand. But,
Sure.
Tickets were cheap. I love a good excuse to spend time with them. So we had a good time. I did have Jimmy and I both, I think, had some where, oh my gosh, we're getting old moments because this was in
Yes.
this teeny tiny hole in the wall venue in a college part of Cleveland. And we were probably the oldest ones there by a pretty wide margin.
And you guys, you're 27?
I'm 27.
So there's like a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds there.
They were probably like, I'd say, early 20s probably.
Were people like looking at you like, do you need help, ma'am? Can I help you to the door?
No, but
You're the oldest people there.
So the concert, the opening act, which we all agreed was horrible, did not actually take the stage until 9.
Oh,
And
I'm
then
out already.
And then what the band we came to see, it was pushing 10 by the time they were on. I'm just like, I'm so tired. I can't,
Wow.
I'm not functioning right now.
But you got to see your brother
I
and
did.
his girlfriend.
Yeah, no, we had a good time.
And you must approve of her if you went along.
Yeah, of course.
Of course you do. Well, yeah, your brother's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had so many other things, you guys. Number one, prom weekend.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
prom weekend.
Yes.
Big time.
So my oldest son, Marshall, had a senior prom, and my second daughter, third child, had her junior prom, and they looked great. Marshall wore our suit.
Yes, I almost said, oh, the Dolan suit.
Marshall and I share a suit. Why we can share it, I'm not sure. He's 6'2",
much
I'm
taller than you.
5'10".
Yeah, quite a bit taller than you.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just like the style. They like stuff a little bit shorter,
I
where your
guess.
age would like it a little bit longer. So
Works out.
The look on your face where you could say your age.
your age. Well,
Yeah.
you're his dad, so
Yeah, well, I followed around primarily my daughter because when I got there, Marshall was like, "I'm good, Dad. I took all the pictures I need." And I just followed her around, and she was like, "Dad, okay, picture."
Of
Dad,
course.
Dad, picture. And I just took pictures. And they were really cute. And it was at Neomed in Rootstown.
Yeah.
So it was like a hospital, basically, but also they have like a medical school there. So there was a fun little room for them to have prom, but it was funny going in the front door of like a hospital to go.
Oh,
prom.
wow.
Well, sort of.
So
I mean, it was like
there,
their offices.
huh?
Yeah.
I thought like you were taking pictures somewhere there, but the event was actually at the school.
Well, for a lot of high schools in the Hiram College region, a lot of them go to Hiram College for pictures because there's this beautiful campus, just beautiful. But it was raining. For the first time in years, it was raining.
That's
so
true. It
they had
rained
to
a
take
lot.
pictures inside. So, a couple by the garbage can, a couple by windows. But it was super fun. They had a great time. Yeah, it was great. Also, guys, I went to a place called Pastimes with my son Theodore and one of his buddies. Have you heard of this?
I don't believe so.
Now, ladies, I think might be indifferent about this. Ron, this might change your life. It's technically called Pastimes Pinball and Video Arcade in Girard, Ohio.
Okay.
Now, it's going to get even better as I describe it. They have 400 pinball machines.
Holy mackerel.
Anything from and they have a little sticker on it where it tells you who the manufacturer was and what year it was made. Anything from you can look at stuff from the 1930s, but you can't play it. Those don't count in the 400. But then they have stuff from the 60s and 70s all the way to brand new pinball machines, right? And they have 200 classic arcade games. Not remanufactured, but actually refurbished. Space Invaders Pole Position, Arkanoid, Big Buck Hunter, Dig Dug, Frogger, Galaga, Mortal Kombat 2. You know when they used to have the 4 positions around a giant screen? And they had all those, all of them. And here's the best part. They didn't ask me to do this, by the way. This is just me getting excited. You pay an entrance fee, and then everything's set to free play.
Wow, that's nice.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great, Ron?
That is. You don't need to take $100 worth of quarters and just pump them in.
But I played hundreds of dollars of games for a very small fee. It was so cool. My son won this gift card as part of a little raffle he was part of. He brought his buddy, and we all just said, "See ya," separated from each other, and had a blast.
I bet.
Ron, it was so cool. It's very far from you, though. Girard, Ohio is over by Youngstown.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's worth it. Would you ladies like doing that?
No.
Your husbands might, though.
Yes.
I might go once. It sounds like it could be fun.
Would Jimmy like it? He loves games.
Jimmy might like it.
I mean, I'm not kidding. Everything is set to free play. This sounds like every kid's dream. I don't have to have quarters. I could play whatever game I want in this whole place. Parking lot was full. It went in, but there's so many games. No waiting.
That was what I wondered. If you didn't have to put another quarter in, could you just keep playing and playing? And would there be a line formed behind you?
There was no lines. There was once or twice there was somebody playing a game I wanted to play. But I took a breath and said,
Let's go to the next one over.
I could go to
So
another
they're
one
done?
and then come back. It was so great.
I bet.
So many memories. I remember when I was a kid, they don't do this anymore, but they were the coolest video games were always at restaurants.
Oh, really?
And you could never play them because your parents were like, "No, you can't have a quarter. We're here to eat." And so they were all these cool games as a kid. I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, I'd love to play that game." Or you'd play it, you never get a chance to get as far as you wanted because you didn't have another quarter. You guys, we should go there as a team.
We just had a team outing.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
How could you forget? Your team won.
We won.
We won.
There was
Not Ron, though.
There was a picture of the winners we took of a game we played, and Ron joined us for that, even though he lost. But tell him what we did.
It's technically an escape room, but this was not an escape room.
You're not trying to get out.
Yeah, you're not trying to get out. We did classic game shows.
It was so fun.
And it's a classic game show duel, so we just split our team in halves, 4 and 3, and all played each other. We played Family Feud.
Which was so fun. I've always wanted to play Family Feud.
It was a lot of fun.
One part of The Price is Right, where you have to tag on the price to each item.
That one was hard.
That was very hard.
We won though, but
We won because the other team got 0.
Yeah, they didn't
We got
consistently
3.
got nothing right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were so far behind, we just mixed up everything and hoped to get more.
What was the one in the middle?
Match game.
A match game. So like something, a fill in the blank, and you have to get the same word as the person it's their turn.
And the best one, everyone's dream to play on Price is Right.
Is it Planko or Plinko?
Plinko.
Plinko.
We played Plinko.
We did.
It was so fun.
It was very fun.
It was a team of Mike Reynolds, Lauren, Daria, and me, and we won.
Yes, we did.
Well
we
done.
were the Pinkies because Brian made his name Brain. So Pinkies in the brain.
It was actually, as Bill Murray once said in a famous film, Cinderella story, out of nowhere. Like, we were behind for half of it.
We were.
Yeah.
We came
A
from
lot.
behind.
Huge upset.
I don't know when we came back. Was it during the match game?
We turned it around during the last round of Family Feud because the other team got like all the rounds, and then
they did.
we finally won one.
Yeah, we were terrible at the one where you had to guess how somebody else would fill in the blank.
Well, because they filled in the blank wrong. So
No, you filled in the blank wrong.
That's how I felt about you, yeah. But okay, so it was great. I had a great weekend.
I don't like birthday cake, so you guys are supposed to know that about me.
Well, we didn't.
I would
and now
never
we do.
think about birthday cake. I
Yeah,
don't like
it was
cake.
blank cake. And then Lauren picked something, wrote something down, and then we had to guess what she was going to write down. And she wrote cheesecake.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm surprised you didn't figure that out because you don't really like cake either, Brian.
No, but I'm not thinking about what I like. I'm thinking about would be the most likely thing somebody would put in blank cake. Most people would write birthday cake. That's because that's the most common usage.
I don't think about birthday cake.
I mean,
ever.
I'm anti-birthday cake, but
The only
that's
things that came
intense.
to mind were cupcake, cheesecake, carrot cake. That's really all that came to mind.
I deeply relate to your objection to birthday cake.
Not a cake fan.
Yeah, pie is much better, or cheesecake is good.
Cheesecake, ice cream.
But we still won. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
we still won.
One of the more interesting ones was blank room because
Yeah, there's so many rooms.
yeah, nobody had a consistent, this is what everyone will answer.
Guest room,
I don't
bathroom,
think anybody got
bedroom.
that one right.
No.
Because I thought we're at an escape room. Escape room will be
That one
top
got
of
me.
mind.
That one got me. I forgot about that.
But we had so many other answers. It was like, really?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Ron. Very good. Boy, so
Hey, what about Dario, a tiny dancer?
That was very Elton John of you.
oh, that's right. It was
Just
blank
mine.
dancer.
Tiny blank.
Oh, tiny blank.
And
Yes.
me, you, and Mike were like, tiny house.
Tiny Tim.
Yeah,
Tiny
where
Tim.
did tiny house come from?
That's the only other tiny thing I
It's a
could
big
think
trend.
of.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, let's divide and conquer. So we've got Tiny Tim
Daria
and Tiny
wrote
House.
Tiny
I just
Dancer.
wrote Tiny Dancer.
I was like, oh, I thought it was Tony Danza. Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Okay, we had a great weekend, obviously. It was lots of fun. By
Yeah.
the way, taking a few steps back, Ron, they had the video game at Pastimes, Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Do you remember this video game?
No, I've never
How could
heard
you
of that.
ever play that? Like, how do you play that?
How do you not play that is a better question.
Well,
It's
it's not
Michael
like-
Jackson like walking around in his like smooth criminal outfit.
But
Is
what
that
do
the one
you
where you're
do?
Going
Like
through
kicking
his
people.
house, letting kids out of a closet.
No. He's like
'Cause I
getting
think that was an
criminals.
actual game that existed.
No, this was way before all that. This was made in the late 80s, so it was great.
I just don't understand, how do you play Michael Jackson dancing?
He's wearing the smooth criminal outfit and he's walking around like doing his moves, but
Okay.
his moves kick the bad guys, the criminals.
Oh, so you got to move him forward to kick the bad guys.
Yeah, you move him around the world and he
Okay.
like kicks people and does like the hee and all that stuff, you know?
Yes.
Okay, it's 6:20. We got lots to do, lots to talk about. John Palmer's going to be here, the Cranky Arborist from 8 to 9.
All right.
So whatever you thought you should be doing right now this spring with your plants and
You're
your
wrong.
yard, yeah, it's
You've already
wrong.
done it wrong, actually.
In fact, just confess to it. You could send us a confession of what you've done.
Brian, go ahead. Tell him about your grapes. I don't know. What'd you do?
Well, I did what John told me to do last
Well,
year,
we'll
so
see.
I'm sure yeah. Write us a confession, and John will tell you what you did wrong and how to do better.
Yeah.
440-546-2255. We've also, by the way, confused spiritual growth with self-improvement, according to one particular person, and we're going to get into that in just a minute.
Today, there is a disciple-making church planting movement that's taken root in 40 countries around the world. It's called the Timothy Initiative, and its mission is to see a healthy church planted in every village, everywhere. Since 2007, over 200,000 churches have been planted through the work of the Timothy Initiative, but there's more work to be done. Take your place in the Timothy Initiative. Go to ttiglobal.org.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
Bringing Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania closer to Christ, one conversation at a time. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Today's a new day, but there is no sun. Mornings with Brian, Moody Radio, Cleveland, 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF. I got a little carried away with my excitement on a few things, so we ran out of time to do what I wanted to do, but fear not, as I used to say every day, every few minutes. I've got a story for you about Seagull Boy.
Who?
Seagull Boy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not familiar? He's from Belgium.
I don't know who that is.
Daria?
Am I supposed
No.
Yeah, she went from being hip and happening. Now she's the old lady at the music venue.
Apparently.
to? She doesn't know anything about seagulls.
Dressed in a seagull costume, 10-year-old Cooper Wallace took first place in the youth division at the European Championship Gull Screeching Contest in Belgium. Second year in a row, he's the champion.
We're surprised that 10-year-olds are good at screeching.
Yeah, I got a couple of kids who
You got
missed
a
their
screecher.
chance. He started his career when he was bitten by one of the birds, he said.
This is not a Spider-Man origin story. Like Gullman.
Seagull Boy, thank you very much. He's only 10. He can't be Gullman yet.
When Jimmy and I were engaged, my family took a trip with us to go meet his family for the first time. They live in New Jersey. And we went and did a little picnic on the beach, my family plus the two of us. And Jimmy was going, okay, you got to be careful with your sandwich. You got to guard it. The seagulls will come and take it. He was like an inch from his mouth with his sandwich. A seagull swooped in and stole it. After he had spent like 20 minutes drilling in my parents, watch your sandwich.
Did you laugh?
It was hysterical.
Good.
My parents called, well, he was mad at the time, but my parents called just 2 months ago and asked me to retell the story because they couldn't remember how it went. They were laughing.
Oh, I wish I could have seen that. That's like a Seinfeld episode or something. Oh,
I don't
that's
know why,
great.
but I feel like that would happen to Jimmy.
It did.
Poor Jimmy.
Yeah.
Those seagulls are mean, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, they bit
They're
Seagull
kind of
Boy.
pushy. Yeah.
But if only they were a few inches closer, Jimmy could be Gull Man.
Yeah.
And he could win the
What kind
contest.
of powers would a Gullman have?
Protect your
Screeching.
sandwich.
You dive bomb beachgoers. Then there's also, I guess the contest had 70 people from 13 countries. So
Wow.
don't you guys make light of Seagull Boy. He's done it.
He's an
Where's he from?
international champion.
From Belgium.
Oh,
Duh.
okay.
He's Dutch, right? No, he's Belgian.
There you go.
I got confused about, Holland,
Yeah, it's get a little confusing over there.
the Netherlands, Dutch. It's like, make up your mind what your name is.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's Belgian. So they got great waffles and they got Seagull Boy. What do you
All
want?
right.
All right. We've covered that. So we must, in a few moments, get back to our conversation. We'll continue with Joe and Cindy Ferrini with My Marriage Matters. Last week, we started talking about things you should not share with your kids. We covered, I believe, the relationship category, but the stressor category needs to be covered as well. We'll get to that in just a few minutes.
I'm Jamie Buxton, and this is Pause for Prayer. On a recent trip to Maui, my family and I ventured to the top of Mount Haleakala, an amazing place to discover both volcanic terrain as well as the rainforest. As we hiked at 8,000 feet above sea level, it can only be explained as otherworldly. The trees and the land looked like something right out of a Star Wars set. It was unbelievable to experience this incredible place, and as we walked, my heart worshiped in awe of the God of the universe. Let's pause for prayer. Father God, thank you for putting your goodness, your wholeness, and the depth of your fullness on display for me. When I think about your awesome wonder in that beautiful hike, I'm overcome with gratitude for your greatness. In Psalm 19, David writes, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands." And now I can truly understand what David was trying to explain. The heavens declare the greatness of our God, and when we allow ourselves to soak in the beauty of creation, we can truly see the detailed work of the Lord's hands. And as we reached the top of the mountain, this verse from Isaiah became so real to me. Who has measured the waters in this hollow of his hand, or with the breadth of hand marked off the heavens? Thank you, Father God, for the wonderful reminders.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
637, Lauren's favorite song. There's joy in the journey. It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland. And I'm so excited to have back. They help us think through marriage relationships, family relationships. They spoke nationally with Family Life's Weekend to Remember Marriage Getaway for 20 years. She's been doing Pause for Prayer since 1998. Now Joe has joined the team as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe and Cindy Ferrini, welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
So we started a great conversation last time about things you should not share with your kids. Can you give us a little recap, Cindy?
Sure. Well, since we just got through about half of the things, we'll go through just real quickly that we talked last time about relationships. And so a couple of the things very quickly. You shouldn't share with your kids details of adult relationship problems. And certainly if you have negative opinions about the other parent, to keep that to yourself. But also beyond that, to not to gossip about family or friends or talk about work-related conflicts in a lot of depth. That can be a stressor, which we'll go into next. But then also just any kinds of jokes or things that are explicit. First of all, we shouldn't be doing that anyway, but just to be very, very cautious with our children. And then not to have comparisons with other children in other children, period, but then other kids in the family. And then lastly, if there's any jealousies or rivalries with other people, to keep that to ourselves, and definitely not to blame them for any family struggles.
Very good. And so now we're moving from relationship things you should not share with your kids. What's the next category we're looking at?
Well, I thought we would talk about stressors. And I think the first one, this is it's a big one in marriage, so it'll be a big one in our family, but to not really share with them when we have financial stress or debts.
No, their little ears are just really in tune to any insecurities that we might have, especially when it comes to finances. They'll take it personally, and they'll begin to worry about things, and you begin to wonder what's wrong with you, and finally get them to open up, and they'll tell you that are we poor, or are we having troubles, and they just go down that trail, and it's because of something you said that causes them to get stressed out.
Now, would you recommend ever using the phrase "we can't afford that"? Or is that okay? I'm asking for a friend named
question.
Ryan.
We know Ryan.
Good guy.
I think I would probably phrase it differently.
Right.
I think I would phrase it as, at this time, taking on that activity might be a little bit more difficult for us. Let's talk about how can we earn some money to participate. I'll tell you what, I don't think it's a hard thing, it is a hard thing. I don't think it's a wrong thing to ask our kids to help participate sometimes, especially if they're in a lot of activities, or sometimes the different activities that take you out of town a lot,
Right.
And
I just think, as Cindy said, just change the category and just make it under the category, are we making wise choices? Is it a wise thing for us to consider doing this or that with our money? And could we be doing it and using it differently?
Yeah, just as a thought for people to think about, I remember when our kids were growing up, a lot of people were doing things with their kids like the, I forget the name of it, but when they would take their kids for soccer or volleyball or other things way out of town.
Like
and
tournaments.
for competitions.
Yeah.
Yes, tournaments. And a couple of people that I remember, I felt like they did have a lot of promise for something futuristic, like maybe college or even professional down the road. You could just see that they had it, But, some of those kids, I remember when they got to college, they were like, I don't want to be in this because this is going to own me.
Yeah.
It's going to be all of your free time, all of your practicing, all of your time. And after doing that since they were 3 years old, they were kind of burned out. So I think I like Joe's comment, is this the right choice for us? And I think if a kid really has promise and you see it and they sense it and they love it, then I think that's the kind of thing you try to find ways to sacrifice for that. But then it has to be also a family decision.
But this could be an opportunity to really be an encouragement to your child. I remember Kathleen, since we all know Kathleen here, she really had a heart set on doing performance.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of folks kind of poo-hoo that to us, and just basically said, you know, she goes down this road, she's going to spend the rest of her life working at McDonald's or something like that. And we just thought, you know, we're looking at our daughter, we're seeing what she can do and how she can perform, and we're thinking, you know, God has gifted her, and so we encouraged her to go down this path. And it took some extra time and money to pursue these things, but we thought it was a good investment to support her and encourage her to continue going down that trail.
And we couldn't really see her doing anything else that she would love as much as performances. And I would say it did take a different turn from what she was doing to what she's doing now. But that's okay. You just have to make sure that they're loving what they're doing. And I will say this about Kathleen. When she was little, she hated playing the piano. And so Christina one day said to me, "Mom, do you realize that Kathleen has played the same song for like 6 months?" And I'm like, "No, I guess I didn't really notice that." And she goes, Kathleen's not enjoying it. So we had a conversation and we said, let's finish up this year or school year or whatever. So I think, you know, being in tune, like I wasn't at that moment, being in tune to what your kids are progressing at also makes a difference. And, you know, well, the Bible says, as you know, good parents want to do the best for their children. They want to give good gifts to them. And so we want to do the most we can. But I like your question, because if it's really a stressor on your finances, I think as a parent, we also have to learn the responsibility of that. And, you know, sometimes there's other creative ways to be able to do that. Sometimes there's sponsorships with things. So I think you don't want to stress your own marriage because of that.
Yeah, and another thing, and the way to build in some safeguards and boundaries for your life and as a parent is to have these intentional times together of what we call family meetings. And you know, we can bring this up at a family meeting because it's already a planned time that we already have on our schedule. And we can bring up these different issues. And it's not like we're trying to, you know, squash their spirit or anything. It's just that this is an opportunity for us to bring up a subject that I think we should discuss.
Yeah, I think when you're more intentional all the time, long term, bringing up something like that isn't like, well, you don't want me to do that.
Right. Yeah. Very good. It's 6:45. It's time for a quick break here on Mornings with Brian on WCRF. Our guests are Joe and Cindy Ferrini with My Marriage Matters. We're talking about things you should not share with your kids, and related specifically this week to stressors in life.
Let's see. If something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Pursue your passion toward shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Online. You'll study systematic theology, pastoral practices, develop your skills in preaching and teaching, and be equipped to analyze Scripture through the lens of the original Hebrew and Greek texts. Take classes when and how it's most convenient for you with our flexible online option. Get started today at moody.edu/online.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
6:46, Joe and Cindy Ferrini with us from My Marriage Matters, chatting a little bit about things you should not share with your kids. It's part 2 of a conversation we started a week or so ago. What other stressors should we avoid sharing with our kids?
Well, I think, you know, if we have personal insecurities or some real heavy self-doubts, I think we have to be careful not to share them, to try to get ways to work through them, maybe counseling. And not that they can't be shared later on, as we talked last time. Some things you can share later on in their lives and in your lives that are well worth it. But sometimes some of those just put that on them as well. So I would be careful of that. And that kind of goes along, too, a little bit with not sharing things about negative body image comments. And and Joe has a story he'd like to share about that, and I love this story.
Yeah, and it really goes back many years, and I'll set this up for you. I had my favorite aunt of all time. She was my godmother. She was my favorite go-to adult, and I just loved this lady. And but one day my mom and we went over her house, and they were in the kitchen sitting around the kitchen table, and I was in the family room, and again, these are small houses, so I could hear their conversations, and my aunt says to my mother, you know that big space between Joey's teeth? And Mom said, yeah. She says, it makes him look ugly.
Oof.
And so and my mom didn't say anything. And so I'm thinking, she must agree with that. And so for like the first 10 years of my life, 15 years, I was a pretty quiet guy, except on the football field. And the reason for that was I had a mouthpiece in my mouth, right?
Yeah.
And so no one could see the ugly spaces. So I was like these two people, and one with the mouthpiece, one without the mouthpiece. And people would see me on the football field, they'd think that I was a raging maniac, talking so much, but when I was with other people in general, I just wouldn't say anything. I would clam up, and
I'm so sorry, Joe. That's terrible. And then you became a dentist.
Well, and that was one of my motivations. I mean, because I knew the impact that teeth can have on someone, and there are other people who think a space between their teeth is wonderful, and that's fine, and I'm not saying anything wrong about that. But just for me, that was a motivation for me to go into dentistry, because I know the impact, the potential of what could happen if you don't have nice teeth. And thankfully, I mean, it took me like I was in my 30s or something like that. I found a friend that was an orthodontist, and literally it took just 6 months. He took care of the whole thing.
Oh wow!
And so that was a good learning experience for me, just demonstrating that we have to be careful what we say around our children. Because those little ears, they hear these things, and it can make a big impact in their lives.
Sure. And I think too that in terms of saying things to them about their body and their looks, their appearances, especially in a world that is so social media minded, where everybody can look a certain way, and you see people changing their looks with AI and some of it's for fun. I get that. But if it's really troublesome to the teen, to the kid, I would say, really just be so careful that you don't stress them out with your own stresses, plus adding their own stresses too.
And I just kind of wrap up that story and say, if somebody on the playground would say something like that to me, I would just kind of blow it off and or do something else to that person. But this was my favorite person in my life, right, who was saying this. So it had more of an impact on my life coming from her than if it was some kid on the playground.
That's such a good story, and I hope it's convicting for us all to be much more careful about that. It's those things that your aunt probably doesn't even remember saying it, and your mom doesn't even remember not saying anything. Exactly. But it had that kind of impact on you. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
Sure. Yeah, and sometimes their reason for saying something, I don't think that's the case in this story. Their reason for saying something isn't the way that you interpreted it. So we have to be careful. And I think, honestly, that's one reason why the intentionality of talking with your children, whether it's a family meeting like we tried to do on occasion, but still with intentionality, to be able to bring up those things. Is there anything on your mind? Or to be able to, as Joe did with the girls, or as I did, take them out separately on occasion, so you could have personal one-on-one conversations with the question of, so how are you doing? And the more that you do that, the more ins you have to conversations with them. Is there anything bothering you? Is there anything, you don't have to say, like, are you stressed? But you can just say, do you have anything on your mind that's bothering you? Yeah. And allowing them to open up. And then when you do that, to not say, well, that's not the case. That's not how it is. You have to listen and understand and, try to make some sense of it for them too.
Yeah, just trying to create a culture in your family where there's openness that they can speak to you. And again, I would take my girls out on the date, on a regular basis, and we would do just what Cindy just said. What's on your mind? What's bothering you? What are you having fun with? What are you doing these days? And so they knew from the early age that they could talk to me and talk about anything they wanted to. And sometimes they talk too much about stuff.
Yeah,
but,
Kathleen has mentioned to me she had no trouble spilling her guts to you.
Oh
over
my
dinner.
goodness! And sometimes the conversations at dinner, we were just glad there was no company, because all of us would just talk about anything. So
Right.
it was good in many, not, and I want to say, not like we did every single thing perfectly.
Well, right,
But some
yeah,
of
yeah.
these things are good helps for other families to say, oh, we've never done a family meeting. Maybe we could do that. But then again, just being careful of what you do share at those family meetings. And I would just go on to say, too, if there's not only frustrations or things about negative body image, but if you have frustrations about how you're, the process of parenting your child, they don't need to know that. That's something that the two of you discuss. Now, if there's an issue and the child needs counseling or direction, again, maybe that's a rewording of things. It's not the frustration, it's a concern that we want to address with you and help you. And, we could list a whole scenario of what that could mean. But we want to help our children, and we don't want to use the negative connotative words that would hinder us from being able to have that conversation with them.
Our kids knew that our goal for them was that we wanted them to be winners for Jesus at whatever it is that they chose in life. We wanted them to just thrive in their choices. And if we can come alongside and help them, then we wanted to do that to reduce the stress that they already have in their life. And so that's how we as a parent could help our children become less stressed.
Right.
Beautiful.
And I think just one last stressor, and we could just talk, I have just a couple of points we could try to get in about some different things about the past. But one last one is, if you're having any money or legal disputes or troubles, probably it's hard to not have that sense, that anxious sense that you would feel in your family when you have that kind of situation. But the kids don't need to know all the details of it. And because sometimes you could share things that aren't actually true, it's just your spin on things. So being very careful not to enter them into those heavy conversations.
Yeah.
And if when they're older they need to understand more about that, then that's a better time to share it with them.
I would imagine those things come up naturally at some point, right? When the kids get older.
I think so, because you want them to understand grown-up things, and I think you want them to understand that you aren't perfect, and that they'll make mistakes as parents, and they'll do things differently than we did as parents. But we didn't want to burden you with some of these things early. So here's some things that maybe you should know, and here's the reasons why we think you should know them.
And you're right, Brian. I think there is openness as the children grow older to talk about things that otherwise would be kind of held back. I know for years I would not open up to my aunt or my mother for years. I mean, I would not talk with them for fear of, they would say something else that would be hurtful. So so those things could have a generational effect on what you do as parents. And so we have to have an openness and a transparency in our family culture, so that our children can talk to us anytime, anywhere, at no matter what their age is.
Right.
Now we have just a couple minutes here. Yeah. What's one or two more you want to chat about?
Yeah, this would just be some things about the past. I have 3, but I think I can combine 2 of them. And one of them is to not share with them past mistakes that you've made with graphic detail, or possibly regrets about life choices. Again, those are things that maybe they'll be shared later. And sometimes, if it was or had to be back then, if it had to be something that was a sin issue, you don't have to share that now. If God has forgiven you, some of these things were between you and God, and let's just leave it at that. So I think we have to be careful what we share with them. If you feel like your past sin issue that you've conquered, hopefully, is something that they need to know about, you'll know that you need to share it with them. And I think it's not just a matter of running at the mouth and saying, oh, let me just tell you about what happened with me. And, like I was such a rough guy, or I was such a bad girl. I think we don't need to not be who we are, but we also have to be very careful, because, when people share things with us, I mean, I've had people share some very, very deep, hard things with me. And, honestly, when I see them, it is something I remember. Mm-hmm. And so for me to know that, I can pray for them. But, for a child to hear that of a parent, it's a different take on it.
It's just another discipline that we need to develop in our lives. And the discipline in this case is just the discipline to your tongue. And we need to discipline it for the purpose of godliness. What is it that you're saying that might impact not just their lives, but future generations? And so, again, we're trying to pursue godliness in our parenting at all times, so that our children know that there is no other thoughts in their minds that they would ever have to wonder that we care about them and we love them and we want the best for them. They know that.
Yeah, beautiful, and such important things to bring up. If folks want to connect more deeply, maybe see some of these again, things you should not share with your kids, how can they find more information?
Well, on our website at joeferrini.com or cindyferrini.com, we have the audios of 2 weeks ago and today. We'll have that later, either tonight or tomorrow. And that's where they can find it. And there's a whole series. You can go way back to all the different topics we've done. So that's one way. Also, My Marriage Matters on Facebook. And I'll try to post this list in the next day or so, hopefully today.
Yeah, so find them on Facebook. Again, My Marriage Matters, and then joeferrini.com and cindyferrini.com. As always, we're grateful for you both, and thanks for sharing the powerful stories in your own life.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. It's now just about 7 o'clock. Little Joe Ferrini. Isn't that so sad?
It is sad.
But what a powerful story for us all to remember. Got to be really careful what those little ears hear.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me worried to hear what my kids are going to tell me someday.
We're all just doing the best we can.
I know. Isn't that's the thing I keep reminding myself, and it helps me give grace to others. Everyone is doing the best they can with what they got.
You know what I wondered the other day? We talk about how, well, it's our first time parenting, we've never done this before.
Yeah.
And in your case, you got 5 bites at the apple, so to speak.
Yeah.
But think about like Methuselah. If he had kids for, say, 500 years or something, did he get to be a pretty good parent?
I don't know. I feel like I just get more tired and a little bit more lenient with every kid. Can you imagine Methuselah a few hundred years later? It's like, what are my kids' names? I don't know. I'm taking a nap.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe it is. All right. It's 7 o'clock. Time for Ron's News and today's Moron Moment. And when we come back, our friend Dr. Valencia Wiggins, who's the clinical training director at Moody Seminary for their Masters in Clinical Mental Health program, wants to talk about, since Mother's Day is around the corner, mother-daughter relationships.
For your spirit, soul, and body, it's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
President Trump says his lawyers will decide the scope of his constitutional duties regarding Kilmar Abrego Garcia. At 7:01, I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Trump said he doesn't know all the legal details involving the courts and deportation, so he leaves that up to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Garcia was deported to El Salvador in what the White House initially called an administrative error, but has since said he's a member of the MS-13 gang. Today is the last day to get absentee ballots in the mail for Ohio's primary election. Any ballots that are being sent through the Postal Service need to be postmarked by today. And the number of highway fatalities in Pennsylvania last year was one of the lowest on record. PennDOT says 1,127 people were killed in highway crashes in 2024, which is the second lowest total since the record-keeping started way back in 1928. It's also a decline of more than 80 from 2023. In sports, the Cavs fell to the Pacers, 121-112 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Guardians edged the Blue Jays 5-4, while the Pirates got shut out by the Padres 4-0. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. A dense fog advisory remains in effect until 10 a.m. this morning for areas that include Sandusky, Norwalk, Lorain, Elyria, Cleveland, Medina, Mansfield, and Ashland. Mostly cloudy today, that widespread dense fog this morning, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures in the upper 60s. At last check, fog and 49 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton mostly cloudy and 45. Lorain, Elyria, cloudy skies, 51 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
5 beautiful lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Ontario, and Erie. They're all being celebrated on Great Lakes Awareness Day, which takes place on the Monday in the first full week of May. This year, of course, that's May 5th. This event is our chance to honor the series of large, interconnected freshwater lakes that creates America's North Coast. Celebrate by planning a trip to Lakeside or the Islands, Edgewater or Huntington Beach, Mentor Headlands, or Presque Isle. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:04. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF. Warning, Sunday is Mother's Day. I'm all wound up.
Warning.
Like, Sarah and I had to have a talk about it yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are your expectations here? Because the kids are getting older, right? We're trying to work all this out. So we're getting ready, but I just want to make sure kids out there have a fair warning. I texted all my children.
Everyone's been in the know. Okay.
Let me know what you need to honor your mother on Sunday.
I text my boys out in Oregon and Washington.
Did you?
Yeah, probably a week ago. And just said, hey, just a reminder, Mother's Day's coming up.
Atta guy. What a dad. But with a little twist on a Mother's Day discussion today, we have our friend whose mother listens to the show when she's on it, at least, maybe more than that. Dr. Valencia Wiggins is clinical training director at Moody Theological Seminary for their Master's in Clinical Mental Health program. Welcome back, Dr. Valencia Wiggins.
Good morning, Brian, and everyone. How are you all doing?
Good. Should we say hello to your mother today?
Yes, you may. She's listening.
Lauren's mom, I think, is listening too.
Yes, hi, Mom.
And if Daria's mom isn't listening now, she probably will be later.
At some point, she might.
So we're talking today about mother-daughter relationships with three women whose mothers might be listening. How honest are we going to get, Dr. Wiggins?
We can be very honest.
Okay, good. So you've been thinking about mother-daughter relationships with Mother's Day. Why is that?
You know what? It's funny. Yesterday I was reading about Ruth and Naomi. And even though it's a mother and a daughter-in-law relationship, it really just shows the heart of mother-daughter relationships. It has everything. It has attachment. It has respect. It has conflict in their relationships. And that's what mother-daughter relationships can be. If I think about it along the developmental scale, I'll look at adolescence. Probably a lot of mothers and daughters start to have really conflict because they're changed.
I didn't have any sisters, Dr. Wiggins, and so when my daughters hit teenage years, I just spent a lot of time wide-eyed, and whispering to my wife, "Is this normal? Did you do this?" It was wild. Moms and their daughters. Whoa.
That changed through puberty. And then if you think about it, as you get a little bit older, then there's separation, going to college, independence. And then eventually later on in adult years, sometimes mothers and daughters can come back together more as friends. They're still mothers and daughters. But there's so many changes. And yet you need your mother, daughters need their mothers, and there can be conflict, but it's healthy conflict because in that relationship is how you learn to be in relationships with others.
So before you were Dr. Wiggins and you were just regular Mrs. Wiggins or Ms. Wiggins in your teen years, did you do the whole teenage girl thing with your mom, or were you just a little angel? Which was it? And your mother's listening now, so you can't lie.
You know what? I think I was a good daughter. My mother's listening. I think she would agree with me. I had my attitude. I had my attitude in my high school years because I wanted independence, and there's things that I wanted and conflict. But it's been sweet. I'm blessed to have a good relationship with my mother, and we've been through some things. We had some conflicts. Probably I think about the time when my father passed about 20 years ago. Yeah, those were tough times because all of a sudden the roles are changing. So you think about where your mother would be there for you, but also they're in their grief. You're in your grief. I'm an adult. And it just showed the dynamics of how you come back together. And sometimes you can have moments of separation.
Yeah, I suppose you almost had to relearn what your relationship was going to be like when you removed your dad from the equation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It changed because then she's a widow, so that's a difference. She's single. I'm single. And then all of a sudden we're both are single. But, of course, that's completely different. She's been married for 48 years. But it changes. It changes, but in a good way because then there's a deeper relationship and more honest dialogue, more listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we back up a few steps, what's your advice for moms listening now who have teenage daughters? Like, what word as a psychologist can you give to them of encouragement right now?
One thing I would say, definitely keep that communication open. And as your daughters are going through changes, listen. Find ways to connect in their world, to know what's happening, what's important to them. You can be the mother that thinks like, well, this is not a big deal. A child is emotional and upset. But listen to what they're saying. Probably more listening, maybe less talking sometimes. But to be respectful, because you're also modeling to that adolescent how to communicate.
Yeah, because that teenage girl drama with friends bit is a lot to grapple with.
Oh, it's a lot. I'm sure you've had that with your daughters.
Oh, boy. Yeah, 19 and 17. It's just, I wish girls would be nicer to each other, Dr. Wiggins, but I guess it helps parents grow. I don't know.
It does. It does help grow it. And you're also dealing, if you think about that age, you're dealing with self-esteem.
Yeah.
Girls are wanting acceptance, and they're wanting to be understood. And so they're dealing with that maybe in their relationships or friendships, but then you need that modeled also at home.
Yeah. It's 7:15. Our guest is Dr. Valencia Wiggins. She is an associate professor and clinical training director at Moody Theological Seminary for the Masters in Clinical Mental Health program. When we come back, Dr. Valencia Wiggins will keep talking about mother-daughter relationships in light of Mother's Day.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
Ever wondered if there's a way for Christians to meet their healthcare costs affordably and efficiently? A biblical lifestyle alternative to traditional healthcare options? The answer is Christian Healthcare Ministries. They've enabled believers to live out their faith while embracing a voluntary health cost ministry for over 40 years. It all starts with a visit to chministries.org/Moody to see how CHM meets values and healthcare costs. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
Have you read God's Word today? Here's help. Download the new and improved Today in the Word app and answer a daily invitation to connect with God. Explore brand new features and resources to help you grow in your walk and share the gospel with friends and family. Read or listen to each day's devotional with new audio features and keep track of your progress in the new devotional calendar.
Download the all-new app at todayintheword.org or in your app store.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
720 WCRF. With us right now is Dr. Valencia Wiggins from Moody Theological Seminary, where she runs the Master's in Clinical Mental Health program. And we're talking about Mother's Day in light of mother-daughter relationships. Now, you talked about a couple of phases of relationship. Now, as a daughter kind of, leaves the home, whether it's to college or career, how does that relationship begin to shift?
Well, for daughters that are, starting to transition out, they're looking for their independence. They want to make their own decisions, life decisions, but yet you still need your mother to affirm those decisions. So there's that tension of then I'm an adult. I can make my own decisions now. So it can change that way. And then for the mother, their role is changing because they may not be, not that they're not as needed, but the needs change. So there could be grief with that as well because no longer that daughter or child is in the home anymore.
Yeah, and I bet a lot of moms struggle to transition out of that and to actually grieve the my daughter needs me in the same way kind of thing. So how do you recommend moms go through that grief?
I think still communication. I think being able to recognize and acknowledge and validate, what, you're growing up. This is your time to become adult. I've given you everything that I can. I'll always be here. And when you need me, to have that open door, they know that they can come back and they can talk and connect, but yet give that space.
But, moms want to give their daughters advice, don't they?
They do, and especially when you think about maybe if dating relationships come on the scene or their marriage, and then there's going to be lots of advice because they're watching their daughter. They don't want her to make mistakes. Maybe if they've made mistakes, they don't want their daughter to have the same mistakes, but that's where it can be challenging.
But they have to kind of lean on the wait till you're asked for advice approach, right?
Absolutely. And again, that's stepping back and waiting.
And then also working on that face that says to your daughter, I have advice for you, but I'm not going to give it because you're not asking. But I really have it, and I'm judging your decision. How do you work on that face?
Smile. You keep smiling.
Lauren just about spit out her coffee. I don't think it's any reflection of her mother listening. Her mom did it perfectly.
No, not at all.
So now, lots of moms also kind of long for the relationship in their adult daughters that they see other people have. It's your daughter is not your best friend, but like a best friend. How do you get to that?
You know what? That's communication, active listening. And I think about people as we're looking at Mother's Day. Someone may not have their mother, whether it be it's she's passed on or maybe there's a conflict. But sometimes people maybe have even mentors in their lives. If someone is an aunt, I'm an aunt. So it's important to again keep that communication open.
Well, then what's step one then for the relationship between a mom and daughter that hasn't been going well? Maybe they're getting older, both of them. How do you start over in a relationship like that?
Sometimes you need other people, you need their help. That's where maybe counseling could be helpful, to have someone come in and maybe work through those parts of the relationship that are maybe difficult to get past. But another person, a professional, can help you with that.
Well, people who aren't familiar with counseling would just presume that you as the counselor are just going to listen for a bit so that you can take sides. What's your role as a counselor in that kind of relationship work?
My role is to help build communication skills and help have better communication. And not to take sides. I don't take sides, but to help each other person see their points of view, but then how they can move past maybe the block that may be in their relationship.
Is it sometimes hard not to take sides? You can tell us.
Sometimes it can be.
I love it.
Listening, I'm like, you know what? I see the problem.
Yeah, and I can speak at least from a marriage counseling perspective. My wife and my marriage counselor really just helps us communicate, helps us translate each other's languages, which still are very different. We think differently. We're different people. And she can go, I think I hear you saying this. And I'll be like, yes. And my wife would be like, what? That's what he's saying? Yeah.
And she doesn't take sides, does she? Your counselor.
No, I kind of want her to sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Because we all know whose side it is, really. Right. Just kidding. No. But she does a great job of moderating. So, I hope that somebody hears that and knows that it's not too late. It's never too late, I think, to work on that mother-daughter relationship. It can be better.
That's right.
If somebody wants to train to be a counselor, I got to give you a shot as well to talk about Moody Theological Seminary's training program for people in counseling. What kinds of degrees in counseling can people get from Moody Bible Institute?
They can get a master's in clinical mental health counseling, which can lead to licensure. And actually, we have some graduates getting ready to graduate in a couple of weeks. So check out moody.edu and check out our counseling program.
And somebody might be surprised to hear that. You're saying that you can get counseling with like the secular state agencies when completing your Moody Christian counseling degree.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we train for. Our program is designed so that you can get your licensure.
Wonderful. Okay, so go to moody.edu, moody.edu. And again, Dr. Valencia Wiggins has been our guest. She is an associate professor and clinical training director at Moody Seminary for the Masters in Clinical Mental Health program. Please wish your mother a happy Mother's Day for us as well.
I will, and happy Mother's Day to all your mothers.
Oh, thanks. You're very sweet. We'll talk again soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Anything to add, ladies, in the, I can only speak from the observer perspective and only partway through that journey. What's the secret sauce to building a good relationship with mom? You have any thoughts on that?
I just have a great mom, so she makes it really easy.
What about her makes it easy? There's got to be something about your mom that makes it easy.
She's just such a selfless, empathetic person. I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. And I at least sense from you that she wants you to be who you are. And
yeah.
She gives you room for that.
She has done a very good job at navigating the transition between teenage Daria to adult Daria. That's something she did very, very well with. I'm still here if you need me, but you're on your own.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing for some moms to do, but I think it's so important, right? Your mom, I'd imagine, Lauren, lets you be the woman that you're becoming and not try to be a mini Gigi.
Yeah, she has 3 daughters and we're all very different. And she's curious about who we each of us are, not trying to make each of us into the other, like one of the others, or make us into ourselves. It's just, well, who are you and what do you like? What are your strengths? And then helps us pursue those strengths and, calls those things out in us.
Now, if there is a mom of an adult daughter listening who wants to kind of start over or make it better with her adult daughter, like what's a way to approach your adult daughter to try to make it better? That's not going to make her freak out. It's scary to do that.
Find a way that's really non-threatening, especially if you have a history of conflict. Just, hey, I'd like to catch up. Can we get coffee? I'll buy. And then just kind of, I think maybe let her lead the conversation. If there's something you need to apologize for, or maybe it's on her end and you'd like to smooth things over, I think just be honest about that.
Yeah, go first. Is it awkward to even say, I want to improve our relationship, and I know I've been part of the problem, blah, blah, blah?
It's awkward, but I think awkward doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be freaked out by hearing your mom say, I want us to be closer.
No.
Mm-mm.
I think that'll help somebody to hear an adult daughter say that. Not that everyone is as wonderful as the two of you, but...
Someone texted in, can a counselor help a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law relationship? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see why not.
Oh, yeah.
Any type of familial relationship.
But honestly, I think humility is often the very beginning of building a bridge in relationship. Mm-hmm. Everybody contributes in some way to relational conflict. And if you can just own your part.
Yeah, you got to be open to learning what you did to hurt somebody else.
Because you're not innocent.
Yeah.
Nobody
We all
is.
do something.
Unless you're Jesus, and last time I checked, you're not. He was perfect, you're not.
Yep.
So you can find some place that you can make some improvements. So, that's great. All right. Thanks for your advice, ladies. And Ron, any advice from you, Paw?
No.
Your wife must be listening, or your daughter or something. No. Okay, it's 7:30 on Mornings with Brian. Coming up in just a few minutes, one of my favorite times of the week. We see a lot of intense debates in society happening, and it ruins friendships and relationships. So what we like to do here is model for you that it's possible to have an intense yet pointless debate where everyone's friends afterwards. So the next pointless debate coming up in a few minutes.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Your day is starting off strong with Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
You're a man of your word.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
With Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. Ron, it's a day late, but may the 4th be with you.
And also with you, Brian.
Amen. Oh, man, I'm so mad. Next year, it's not Saturday next year, is it? It'll be Monday, right?
I don't know for sure.
We're going to have to look ahead here in the calendar.
Some people call today Revenge of the 5th.
Oh, I like the Sith. Oh, we could make every day Star Wars Day, Ron. Okay. But it's a new week. We're super excited, and we see a society full of rage and debate and people ending relationships. So we thought, why not model the fact that you can debate but still be friends?
Yes.
With our pointless debate of the week.
That's exactly right. We are discussing, what do you call a fizzy, sugary drink? Soft drink, soda, pop, soda pop, Coke.
There's
ahead,
an
Brian.
obvious answer.
Please,
I'm going
you
first.
start. Yeah, go ahead.
The way I was raised in really the promised
God's
land
country,
of America.
right.
Yeah. And where honestly, when you look at news anchors, they're trained to speak like I was raised.
Okay.
It's pop. And yet I've had to train myself over the years to stop saying that. And I've trained
And
myself.
why do you have to train yourself to say it? Because it's wrong.
Because everybody in the cultures in which I've lived has said it wrong. And I'm tired of getting made fun of for the correct answer. So I'm having to say soda all the time, like a loser.
Oh.
But I really, in my heart, it's pop. I want a pop.
Yes, I am pop raised as well. But
Pop
on
raised.
the radio, I'll say soda pop because it appeals to more people.
It's a compromise.
To make everybody feel welcome. Daria?
I say soda. But I do think most Ohioans say pop, though.
Yeah.
So
Do they?
That's what I've observed. I actually watched or saw like a language breakdown map where it'll like what different regions of the country will call soda / pop. I do think the Midwest tends to call it pop. So I think an anomaly, I guess. I don't know.
Now, no offense to your mother who was raised in the South, Lauren,
Yeah.
but people who are calling
They both
everything
were.
Coke is
Even if it's
straight up
Pepsi.
crazy.
Or Orange Crush. Let's give me a Coke.
Sprite.
What kind?
I mean, it's crazy town. When you go, can I have a Coke? And they go, what kind? Shut your mouth. That is not a thing that people say out loud. Who came up with this?
Yeah, I don't think my parents ever said, at least not like growing up to me, they didn't say Coke.
She grew up in Georgia. She was saying Coke to everybody, I bet.
Okay, grew up in Alabama and Tennessee, get it right.
That's worse.
And they didn't,
Sorry.
to us, they didn't pass it on to us. And also, I'm a little bit confused, Brian.
Here we go.
You said you had to change it to soda, but you're in Ohio. And you were in Illinois where they also say pop.
No, they do not. Get behind me, Satan. No.
Maybe it's
in
Excuse-
Illinois, they say
Excuse-
soda.
Excuse you. I lived in Illinois from 7th grade through 2 years ago. So they do say pop. They
That
do.
was not my experience. It was soda there, and maybe it's a Chicago problem. You didn't actually live in Chicago growing up. I lived in Chicago.
I lived in Chicago for 11 years. Thank you very much. But
It's also a Wisconsin problem, let me say that.
it is a Wisconsin problem.
Wisconsin's got a lot of problems.
They say bubbler.
Yeah, if you don't know about this, if you're in Milwaukee and you're thirsty and you ask for a drinking fountain, people won't know what language you're speaking. You'll have to say, do you have a bubbler? And they'll
That's
be
like,
like,
what does that mean? I don't
yeah,
understand.
it's a drinking fountain.
It's like a European way to say it.
They probably
I
put their
think.
whole mouth on it too when they take a drink out of it. And I went to college in a border town on the Minnesota side. Wisconsin is all kinds of crazy.
They got a lot of stuff.
Another example would be there are rules from each state's wildlife and health department or whatever about how many fish you can eat out of the Mississippi River and stay healthy.
Oh my.
And let me just tell you,
That's scary.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but here's the ratio. It'd be like Minnesota, you can have 2. Wisconsin, 500. Like, they're not worried about your health in Wisconsin. Everybody's a little nutty because how many fish they're eating with mercury in it or something.
It's balanced by the amount of cheese that they eat.
Yes, they wear. Yeah, and they're too obsessed with Green Bay Packers. It's insane. Like so all that to say, they said they must say soda, and they scarred me.
Maybe. I'm just confused as why you felt like you needed to contextualize to Ohio when Ohio is saying pop. You can be free to say pop here.
I don't feel like I'm free to say it.
What do you call it, Lauren?
I call it soda, but that's because where I learned to speak was on the West Coast.
What?
Yeah,
West
I was
Coast?
I was in elementary school in Nevada. So,
Nevada.
yeah. So they say that's just what I learned.
A little roll of the dice out there is probably what people are saying all the time too. Over
I
there in-
guess. Yes, the children.
Oh, you learned from Sin City, I guess, how to say soda.
You're right. I was raised in Las Vegas in the casino. Brian, get a grip.
Caesar's Palace, I mean home.
Now, I
So
wonder,
strange.
down south.
You say soda. You just said you say
Because
soda.
society's made me do it. My heart says pop. My heart says pop.
Just
say whatever
do
you
what you
want.
want.
My
Say
heart-
pop.
no, it's too
It is
damaged.
so welcome to say pop here.
It's too damaged from all these years where people
Everybody in our
make fun of
comments
me.
is saying that people in Ohio say pop. So Lauren and I
Go
are
ahead.
technically the odd ones out.
You
You're
understand?
allowed to say
Brian.
pop.
No, I've been scarred too many times by the way I say things. I say bag and bagel wrong, and
Okay, that's
my
funny.
and my kids get made fun of for it
Well-
in schools. So I'm real cautious about my word usage. Okay.
I'm wondering down south when they say Coke, it used to be,
Oh yeah, they do.
Coke was one particular thing. But in the recent 10 years or something, you've got vanilla Coke, cherry Coke.
Exactly. Which
all
kind?
kinds of flavors.
You gotta
of Coke.
really dig down.
But I thought for them, Coke was the general name, like you would say soda.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
is.
So if you ask for Coke, that's not specific enough. So do you say I'd like Coke? Coke?
Yeah.
Regular
Coke
Coke?
Pepsi?
Exactly. That's where it gets all confusing.
I think we need your mother to weigh in on this. I bet she said
She
Coke.
said, I was not saying Coke to every soft drink. So she says soft drink.
Was it because she was a rebel? Gigi the rebel?
Well, Gigi apparently says soft drink because she just said soft drink.
Soft
which is
drink.
something we didn't even bring up.
Soft. Hello, I would like a soft drink. She's
And they're not
British.
soft. They're quite rough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like little kids can't do the soda because it's too
It burns
much.
on the way down.
Yeah.
Like an actual Coke from McDonald's hurts, actually. A Sprite harms the throat.
Too much fizz.
I think, yeah, there's a Sprite challenge on the internet where
Yeah.
people try to drink it really fast and they can't help but violently belch. But your mom must have been kind of a Southern belle. She's like,
Yes, she is.
bless your heart
Soft
with
drink.
your sody pop. Or
I just said she says
I
soft
know,
drink.
bless your heart with your soft drink.
And
Your
it's not
drink.
soft.
Who came up with that one?
I don't know.
Soft drink.
Well, the opposite of that is hard drink, hard liquor.
The alcohol,
So
yeah.
true, Ron.
Wow, in the South.
Too true.
A lot of moonshine down there. So they're, I want a soft one. I want a soft
Not
drink.
a hard drink, just a
I
soft
want
one.
some sunshine, not the moonshine. Bless your heart with your soft drink.
So I think the moral of the story here is, Brian, you could say pop and feel very welcome.
You're setting. Are you setting me free today?
Yeah, I don't know why you feel so enchained by
Everybody
soda.
here says pop.
I was laughed at so much for saying pop at some scarred era of my life
Somebody.
that is now repressed.
I think you just need better friends.
It's gone. Like I don't even remember what era it was, but it was
Say
like
what you can be free.
Brian, you loser. Who says pop? And I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not a loser. I want to be a winner. It's soda.
You can be free to say pop. If your heart is saying pop, go right ahead.
Let your heart say pop,
Let your heart
but
say
don't
pop.
let your heart say soft drink.
Well,
Hearts don't
or
say
Coke
that.
when you're not
hearts
actually asking
don't
for a
say-
Coke.
Hearts don't say soft drink.
Yeah, and hearts are specific. They don't love, everyone in the same way you'd love like your spouse. So you can't say Coke. Coke is a specific brand.
Well,
it's a thing. Here we go.
in Minnesota, what do they call a midday meal? Lunch or dinner?
It's lunch.
So true.
Wait a minute.
And what do they
What
call
just
evening
happened?
meal? Supper or dinner?
Jimmy calls specifically Sunday lunch supper. He's
But
from
only
Kansas.
Sunday lunch.
Only
Jimmy.
Sunday lunch.
Jimmy.
This is too much.
I think it's a Kansas.
Yeah.
There's too many words for the same thing.
Jimmy.
Just,
Do you
just
object to that?
Sunday lunch.
It confuses me,
Wait.
but I've just kind of gotten used to it. Yeah, just Sunday
Just
lunch.
Sunday
is supper.
lunch. I would call the dinner time supper if we're gonna have to, make a word of it.
Yeah.
The dinner era would be supper. There's no such thing as a lunch.
I
that's a
like
supper.
that you have to explain your word by using the word dinner.
Exactly.
Did you notice that?
I know dinner time.
Let's make it easier.
Evening meal.
It's just
Dinner. It's
Dinner,
I call dinner
lunch.
supper. No, don't say. You're just making it more complicated.
No, there's dinner, lunch, breakfast.
You're translating into a new language.
Then maybe a fancy dinner is a supper.
I say supper sometimes, but I don't know why I do. Maybe I'm feeling pretentious. So, Daria, on Sunday, what happens in the meal in the evening?
That's
What
dinner.
does he call it?
So we have supper and dinner in the same day.
So he's like a hobbit. He has like first dinner and second dinner.
Yeah, first dinner. Well, first supper, second supper.
I think Jimmy needs to fix that.
No, he's fine.
You're like, oh, look at him. He's so cute. He says supper on Sunday.
He is not self-conscious about his language use, unlike some people.
Yeah, seriously.
Who are you talking about?
You.
Lauren's over there going, you know what I call dinner? I call it supper. Let's
no, I'm
just
just
call
saying,
it dinner.
if I were to call something supper, it would be dinner.
So then what's the midday
Like
meal?
midday would never be supper.
What is it?
Never. Lunch.
Lunch. It's always lunch.
And then here on our team, we have lunch at 10 a.m.
Yes, because breakfast is at 4.
Which is actually brunch
I have
time.
a whole pork chop that I'm about to eat at like 10 a.m.
I'm already thinking about the rice bowl that I brought.
I've got some chicken and broccoli. I'm gonna
At
force
10,
myself to wait till
10:30.
10. I actually have days where I'm like, it's 9:15. I can't possibly
Can't
have lunch
have
yet.
a pork chop at 9.
I have to wait till 10. There's something about 10 a.m. that
Oh
makes
my
everything
gosh.
better.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I try to wait till 10:30, but we don't always get there.
Yeah, join the 10 o'clock club for lunch.
Oh god.
And then I'm hungry for dinner at like 3:30 or 4.
Yeah, you got to have a mid-afternoon snack. When
That is
lunch
correct.
is
And
at
it's gotta be
10:30,
hefty.
11.
Notice we're calling it a snack though. We're not trying to make everyone else change it to dinner
To supper.
or supper. Yeah, well, I guess we should start just calling it supper.
Yeah, maybe our afternoon snack we can call supper.
Yeah,
That's our supper is a snack.
I wonder what
And then dinner
Southern
later.
Gigi calls it.
A snack?
Any of it.
Oh.
She's over there saying soft drink.
She does say supper.
Oh, Tim, I would like a soft drink.
Would you like a soft drink with your supper?
All right, it's 7:46. In a couple minutes, our friend Lauren Cuevas here. She had to really repent for almost raging. In public.
What if it's just in my own car? Is it in public? If no one saw me, is it public?
Wow, that is a philosophical. If a tree
It
falls
is.
in the woods, if you rage in your car, does anyone hear it? Depends on how close your neighbor is. I guess. Well, there's a parking problem in Ohio that Lauren needs to address in a few moments.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
Wondering what it looks like to
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
632 WCRF. We got a Mother's Day contest running that's so awesome, and Mother's Day is on Sunday. So what you need to do is get yourself registered for this thing, okay? So here's how you do it. You text the word mom to 440-546-2255. Text mom to 440-546-2255. Enter for your chance to win. It's 2 gift cards, a spa gift card to Lux Spa. How could that be bad? It's another language or something.
It's like deluxe without the D.
Is that what it is? Or is
I don't know.
Does Lux, L-U-X-E, mean something in Latin?
I don't know. Let's look it up.
I guess Latin's not very spa-esque.
There's a lot of things called Lux. What does Lux mean? Elegance.
There you
Luxury.
Sumptuousness.
I don't know what that word means, so I guess it means Lux.
The elegant spa.
And then also, there's a restaurant gift card for a restaurant group, one of those, but it's
Fancy
not,
restaurants.
It's not like, here's your favorite, Applebee's, Chili's. No, it's 17 River Grill, CGC Grill, Bar Italia. Whoa.
I looked them up and they look fancy.
Bar Italia. You put the Italia. It's like in
If it says
Italian.
Italia, it's fancy.
You know it is. And the Lake House.
Yeah, if it has a the in front of it.
Yeah. And then a word that doesn't necessarily mean restaurant.
What? Grill?
Like when I say lake house, you think vacation.
Oh, right.
But for them, it's
It
a
means
restaurant.
Right,
So you
of
know it's
course.
fancy. You want to register for your chance to win? Text MOM to 440-546-2255. Now, Lauren,
yes,
you're a resident theologian.
Okay.
You're spiritual. You're calm.
I would never categorize myself as calm, ever.
You give the persona in public occasionally that you're calm.
I think I'm not easily tousled by the wind, but I am
That
not
is true.
calm.
And you were tousled by a giant wind this weekend
Yes, I was.
at a store. What store? What did you go to?
Meyer and Stowe.
You went to Meyer and Stowe.
Meyer and Stowe, Brian. Thank you.
And if anyone goes to Meyer and Stowe recently, you need to turn it up. And if you've ever been to a grocery store, you need to turn it up because Lauren was about to leave a note on your car.
I wasn't going to leave a note on a car, but I was going to rage in my own car about it. The people who park in the drive-up or pick-up spots, there's the designated spots for drive-up or pick-up
Where
groceries.
you go in and you say
there's a
text
number.
this number because you've ordered groceries.
I'm in spot 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they are so obviously inside. They are not there for pickup or drive-up.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
So they're blocking an entire
Correct.
spot. They didn't do pickup.
Correct.
They ignored the sign and went inside.
Correct.
Did you have a hard time finding a pickup spot?
There was, I think, 6 spots, and there were 5 of us parked there. Only one of us was there for a pickup order.
Wow.
And it was me.
Wow.
Everyone else was in the store.
I feel like you could leave a gentle note.
It makes me feel so enraged.
You are, dear stranger, maybe you should be arrested.
Because it's not like it's just, a whole aisle of spots or something. It's like 6 spots.
Right.
In a giant parking lot. You can find somewhere. You can find somewhere else.
And there are times.
I can't. I have to park here.
There are times where there's more people that need those spots.
That's right.
In your case, you were
They're
the
not gonna
only
find me.
one actually doing pickup.
That's
But
right.
If you'd had 3 people for pickup, one of them would have been out because those 5 people just could not bear to walk another 10 feet. They had to take the wrong spot.
Was this on one of the days it was raining?
It was a little drizzly. It wasn't bad rain. It was like a light misting.
You're fine walking from. No excuse either way, but
Unless you're the
fine.
Wicked Witch of the West, then it's a problem.
Because
but-
then you melt. But for someone who's doing a pickup or a drive-up order, they actually can't go somewhere else because the people have to find them.
Right.
And so where are they supposed to go?
So these
you,
people-
you can go somewhere else.
They know what they're doing.
Probably.
Yes.
There's no way in those spots you can accidentally park in. Oh, I didn't
No.
see the sign. It's like,
Yeah.
what? It's the biggest sign in the
It
parking
has a
lot.
big number on
It's
it.
painted on the asphalt. It's got the big sign. There's signs pointing to it. These people are just rebels. They refuse to live by the laws of the land.
I
Park in
bet
the right
they
spot.
I bet they went inside and stole candy from babies in strollers.
Yeah. They probably park in handicap spots.
I bet they push over old ladies in the grocery store.
Okay.
Well, I
That's
mean,
a
I don't
little
know.
dramatic.
Yeah.
Is it?
If they go to Home
It's
Depot,
you.
they probably park in the Purple Heart spot.
Oh, how dare you.
Yeah.
But again, we can thank them because what they're doing is they're helping us exercise what Jesus expects us to do, which is love our enemies.
I don't
But
think there are enemies.
Pardon me?
Parking in a spot that's inconvenient for me does not make them my enemies.
They're bringing the downfall of civilization.
They felt like my enemies yesterday. They really did.
And when they're driving home, they probably wave people through four-way stops.
I had that happen to me over the weekend, and I understand why that frustrates you now.
Yeah, they're contributing to the entire breakdown of society.
Like, I was clearly here after you, and he just waved me through.
Like, it's not a gift for you to have me do this. It's confusing everyone.
Because I'm just next in line.
Now,
So park in the right spot.
Park in the right spot.
I just kept going on and on and on about it in my car, and Eddie was like, okay, just like, it's fine.
That is frustrating, though.
I did that, and I had a very similar interaction with Sarah over the weekend about people backing into parking spots.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've done it occasionally. If you're going to be at a place where it's like homecoming football game, I've done that because getting out of your spot's pretty tough.
Yeah.
But I see people in empty parking lots backing into a spot. I don't understand the obsession in Northeast Ohio with backing into spots.
It gets you out easier.
Yeah, but you take more time on the front end.
Yeah. Just get in.
Honestly, it probably takes more time to back into a spot than you'd be saving having to back out of it.
That is correct. But
I couldn't do it if I tried, so I don't have any skin in this game.
I'm not going to back into a spot unless I absolutely have to.
I'd crashed into everybody, so.
But it's like I'm seeing, somebody at Menards taking all the time to block traffic, back into their spot. Are you in that much of a hurry to leave Menards?
Yeah, maybe they
And
got to get back
why?
to their project.
What?
And if you get anything substantial, you have to put it in the trunk.
Yes.
So now you've got to walk
You blocked
around
your
your
trunk
car.
And you know what that person does? They actually pull into the front loading spots at Menards. It's like, what are you
Oh,
doing?
okay.
I don't know. Okay, so speaking of rage, which we all need to work on clearly, if you want to make anyone rage today, you can quickly make our station manager, Josh, via rage today.
Well, how?
Oh.
Today is Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Our friend Josh, he is Mexican, 100% Mexican.
Yes.
And he will literally, you could see the steam going out of his ears if you get excited about Cinco de Mayo.
And call it Mexican Independence Day.
Which it's not.
No.
And he'll rant. We
Okay,
don't
so
care
if
about
it's
Cinco
not
de Mayo.
Mexican Independence Day, what is it, Brian?
It's like
I
they
kind of want to see
defeated
Josh ran about it.
they defeated the French or something
Yeah,
on some
it was-
random date.
It was a big battle, but America's had a lot of battles and only one Independence Day.
Yeah, and he basically would tell you nobody in Mexico cares about Cinco de Mayo. They're just making money off Americans on it. But nobody cares about it there. He sent me once a meme of, America on Cinco de Mayo. It was like busy streets, busy restaurants. Mexico on Cinco de Mayo, empty street.
Americans love a taco and a margarita.
On
They
Cinco
really
de Mayo,
do.
yeah.
Mhm. Some chips.
Well, any day of the week, really.
Yeah.
So we should all separately, and maybe you could even email him today. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Josh.villa, VILLA, @moody.edu.
What is it again, Daria?
Josh.villa, VILLA, @moody.edu.
He's gonna text
Just right.
me. He's going to text me and say, why did I allow this?
Happy Cinco de Mayo. And then we should all do it separately too.
Happy Chip Day to all who celebrate. Chips and
Every day
salsa
is
day.
Chip day.
Everybody
Chips,
loves chips and
salsa,
salsa.
guacamole.
Who needs an excuse, a holiday for that? Right? Exactly. All right. It's 8:00 coming up in just a minute. What are you doing with your plants this spring? Your grass, your shrubs, whatever you've done.
I've got a tree problem.
Well, good. We have someone to help with that.
Yeah.
But whatever someone's done, Lauren,
You probably did it wrong.
probably.
Yeah.
We have our friend John Palmer, the Cranky Arborist.
It kind of just makes me not want to do anything because I get scared. So I'm like, well, I just won't do anything.
But it also makes
John's
you want
gonna
to
be
ask
mad at
John.
me.
It saves up your questions.
Right.
Sure.
Like I see shrubs that feel like they need to be trimmed,
I don't know. Got to ask John.
but if I feel like it should be trimmed, my thought is John will say, "You silly person, why would you trim that bush?"
Correct.
So John Palmer is going to be in studio for an hour answering your arborist questions. He is the Cranky Arborist.
That's right.
It's time to ask the questions. Call or text 440-546-2255. Again, 440-546-2255.
It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. WCRF, Cleveland. WVMS, Sandusky. WVML, Millersburg. WVMN, Newcastle. WVME, Meadville. WVMU, Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Federal officials say the government will begin collecting defaulted student loan payments starting today. It's 8:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The Trump administration says the debt will be collected through the Treasury Department program that withholds payments from tax refunds, wages, and government benefits. The U.S. Education Department has not collected loan payments since March of 2020. Early voting for the May primary closes today. The Secretary of State says over 150,000 voted early, but more than 2 million did in last year's presidential election. Actual polls, open tomorrow. And an Indiana company is recalling tomatoes sold by Gordon Food Service stores in Ohio and at least 10 other states due to a risk of salmonella. The FDA issued an alert for the produce distributed under the Ray and Mascari Inc. brand name on Saturday. In sports, the Cavaliers fell to the Pacers 121-112 in Game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinals. The Guardians edged the Blue Jays 5-4, while the Pirates got shut out by the Padres 4-0. Here is your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. First off, a dense fog advisory remains in effect until 10 a.m. this morning for areas primarily to the west: Sandusky, Norwalk, Lorain, Elyria, Cleveland, Medina, Mansfield, Ashland, any of those areas. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies, widespread dense fog in the morning, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures in the upper 60s. At last check, fog and 50 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, mostly cloudy now, 46 degrees. Ashtabula has fog where it's 48 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
5 beautiful lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Ontario, and Erie are celebrated on Great Lakes Awareness Day, which takes place on the Monday in the first full week of May. This year, of course, it's May 5th. This event is our chance to honor this series of large, interconnected freshwater lakes that creates America's North Coast. Celebrate by planning a trip to Lakeside or the Islands, Edgewater or Huntington Beach, Mentor Headlands, or Presque Isle. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:05. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
just like a week or so ago, Lauren and I were, saying, boy, the trees are blooming a little bit. We've got the grass growing. And you were like, it's time.
Yeah, it's time.
We need the Cranky Arborist back, John Palmer, who will help you figure out what you're supposed to do in the springtime. Everybody thinks they know what they're doing in the springtime with their trees, their shrubs, their grass, everything. They don't know. And I'm one of they. I've been wrong every time I make a suggestion to John Palmer. So get your questions in. We have some show and tell on the live stream in just a moment. If you want to see some of the show and tell from John Palmer, text live to 440-546-2255. We'll send you back a link to watch. Otherwise, get your questions in now by call or text for the Cranky Arborist, 440-546-2255. Welcome back, John Palmer.
Yay!
Thank you very much. You realize just because I'm cranky doesn't mean I'm right.
Well,
I mean, I think you are.
I think I am, but
Let's start with show and tell. You've got a camera right in front of you.
Well, the reason that I brought show and tell this morning is because people are going to be starting to plant stuff, and especially trees. And so people are very happy when they go to the garden center and they find a tree in a plastic container because it's really light.
Tree in a tub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tree in a teacup, whatever you want.
It looks like a 5-gallon pot.
Yeah, it is. They actually have various ones in the growers. You have small, medium, large. You have different size containers for the age of the tree. The reason is they put trees in like, pine bark mulch, things like that, because it's very light. So you can pick it up. Plus, it reduces shipping costs because this is light. So it's all done because of what we want. It's what I call being me-centric as opposed to tree-centric. Mm-hmm. So the challenge is
the trees.
So the reason I brought this is because I want you to know what the root system of a tree looks like in a container if you take off, and I'm shedding here, so
it's okay.
Whoever dusts the office is going to get paid overtime today because they're going to have to get all the.
Shout out, Bob.
Now, Lauren, describe this for the listener.
It's all of the roots bunched up into the shape of the pot. They're obviously wanting to be longer and more extended, and they're just wrapping around each other.
And it screams, I've been abused.
Yeah.
It screams, I've been in a container for 7 years.
It's like tingly hair.
Or 5 years. So
really that
Poor
long?
Tree.
Probably so. Some trees actually are grown in containers and left there their entire lives. Now, if you think about it,
we need Sarah McLachlan's in the arms of the angels.
Poor trees.
Well, the reason is, and so the picture that I'm actually trying to show people here is that if you look at the tree and the roots of the tree, where basically the trunk comes down and then it starts to transition and widen out into the root system. The root system on trees doesn't grow deep, they grow shallow. But if you put them in a plastic container, all they do is go around and around and around. So a tree is going to need all these lateral, horizontal roots. But in a container, they stop at the edge. And the other thing is they actually start to wrap around and get close to the trunk. And what happens as these get larger, the structural roots start to get larger and bigger and larger in diameter, and so does the trunk. And eventually those roots will actually contact. Those are actually referred to as stem girdling roots or girdling roots. Circling
no
roots
one likes to girdle.
Got to be secure.
I wouldn't know that. But trees don't like it, and then it actually starts to cut off the vascular flow of the tree. So basically, the tree starts to strangle itself. So when you plant a tree, what you need to do is remove all this material that's where that transition zone happens. Because if you go into nature, next time you go for a walk in the woods, see how trees plant themselves. See how nature plants, how nature wants, how trees want to survive. And you could scrape away a couple of leaves or two, this time of year, and you can see the root flare, what's called the root flare, is above ground. Most people plant the container just level with the soil, and that means that the root system is probably anywhere 2, 3, 4 inches too deep, and then they throw a couple inches of mulch on top of it. Most of the roots are in the top 8 to 12 inches of soil of a tree. So if you go down 4 inches, that's a third deeper. Some of these roots are a third deeper than they want to be. So the challenge is what you need to do is actually remove this, or have your installer remove all this stuff. So literally when I get a tree in a container like this, I actually just pull it out and actually take my hose and just blast away all the stuff until I can see the root flare, and then prune away the roots that are above the root flare. So again, where it widens should be above ground by a couple inches. The national standards for planting trees, the ANSI A300 standards, say that that's what you're supposed to do with trees. So this is the problem with this. So you see trees in containers, just know that the root flare is probably a couple inches below the level of the top of the soil or whatever, mulch or whatever they have in it. So
you're like a tree rescuer.
Free the tree.
Yeah, it's like the ASPCA of trees. John Palmer.
Because frankly, if everybody did this right, I'd lose half my income. Because I'm the person that people call 5, 10, 15 years from now going, what's going on with my tree? It's not doing well. It's like, well, look, you got a circling root I've literally seen a circling root on a tree that was 4 inches in diameter, and it killed the tree. Mm-hmm. If I had $1 for every tree that I've seen killed by girdling roots, I literally probably would be in the thousands of dollars. Literally.
Sad.
Wow. And I'm the person that the people call, and then I'm like, what can we do? What can we do? It's like, at this point, you can't. And I see trees die all the time, so it just makes sense not to do bad things to trees.
Well, we are getting lots of questions coming in now for John Palmer.
I'm sure
certified.
Like 94% of them are about hydrangeas. I know.
You got questions about your spring yard work? He's got the answers. 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market, supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
How about this? Some actual good news on the healthcare front, even as costs just keep skyrocketing. So if you're 65 or older, MediShare now offers MediShare 65 Plus. Call them. You can talk to them about this. A lot of people are taking advantage of this now because even if you have Medicare Parts A and B, there are out-of-pocket things, deductibles and copays that just keep going up. And the whole point is to help you by giving you a low, consistent monthly payment that fills in the gaps. In fact, I can tell you how much MediShare 65 Plus is. For example, it's $99 a month up to age 75. It keeps costs under control. That helps with peace of mind. MediShare is trusted, too. It's been around for 30 years, and it's a community of people who help each other. Business owners, retirees, pastors, teachers. People love being part of it. Here's the number you can call now. They are easy to talk to. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59-SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from North Coast Family Foundation, biblically based Christian counseling that uses practical tools to help marriages heal and thrive. More information is at northcoastfamily.com. That's northcoastfamily.com.
Here to share more is Master Arborist John Palmer. You are amazing. You are a tree whisperer. You are remarkable. I wish we had all day. You are so amazing.
Oh my gosh, you are so amazing.
What was that about?
That was me and Stephanie Schaefer on Fox 8 about a week ago, because
Look
I was
at
on
you.
there doing they were talking trees and health on the Earth Day.
Aw.
Oh, John Palmer, you're big time.
Whatever. I got a face for radio though, so I'm in my element here.
Don't worry, you're on the live stream.
Oh, darn it.
Can Nellie Stevens Holly grow in our zone?
I'm not.
That's a long name. Nellie
Who
Stevens.
is Nellie Stevens, and why did you get her
Nellie
Holly?
and-
This is what the growers and nurseries have realized, that if they make a cultivar, so if they do a hybrid or if they find some oddity in nature and they pluck it out and they patent it, they can sell it to everybody else and make money
sounds
on
fancy,
the
Nellie
patent.
Stevens.
So every name that you see, hydrangeas have names. Pinky Winky is always the one that everybody talks about. It.
You're so cranky
They're
about
all
hydrangeas.
Yeah, it's just like I just planted 2 hydrangeas a week ago in my yard, so I'm not that cranky.
Oh, sorry.
Of course, I planted them someplace where I'm not going to touch them and let them do what they do.
They got to do what they got to do.
As opposed to people that.
Have you ever heard of Nellie Stevens Holly?
No, I haven't. Now, the thing about holly is most hollies like sunlight. So just remember, plants and trees do not grow in zones. They don't grow in hardiness zones. They don't grow in regions. They grow in sites, because once you put it in the ground, It can't say, "Ooh, I don't like this. Let me move over here."
I don't like Ohio.
No,
I'm going to move to
yeah.
Michigan.
Nope. Once you put it in, so you have to look at the site and look at. So most hollies like sunlight. If you
Okay.
put them in shade, they have a tendency to grow really leggy as they mature. So you might not want that. So it has to do with look and see what not necessarily a hardiness zone. Look to see-
Leggy? You don't want Nellie Stevens to be leggy. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist
Have
that.
we gone back to like the burlesque era? That's what that sounds like.
So it wants sunlight. Holly wants sunlight.
Most of them. Maybe there's a cultivar that's more, that's been hybridized
Okay,
to
and
appreciate shade.
shade-ish.
See what they say about it. And the particular cultivar I'm not familiar with, though.
Okay. Is it possible to save a green giant arborvitae that has been rubbed by a buck deer?
Save, that's a relative term. If the thing is, the arborvitaes, people cut off the bottom branches of that. If you cut off the bottom branches, you are now exposing them to deer rubs on the trunk. My theory is that trees have grown branches for a reason. So instead of chopping them off, you should say like, gee, I wonder why the tree grew that for a reason. So it depends. If it's just a branch or a few branch injuries, it'll probably recover. You can prune back to, a part of the branch that isn't broken. But if it's the trunk, if you've limbed it up or the previous owner limbed it up, then maybe you want to put like a wire cage around that to deter the deer. But you don't put it close to the trunk. You put it like 12 or 14 inches
like it's
away.
spread out.
A really wide thing. Yeah, because that way the deer will contact the fencing first. I actually am replacing a tree because it got damaged by deer, and it even got past my wire cage. The little
Oh, my
bugger.
goodness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I put in a bigger,
You need to
wider cage. So it depends, but you don't spray anything on the wound, don't do anything to the wound, don't wrap it, just let nature take its course, and hopefully it will recover. But arborvitaes are pretty vigorous, so they usually can recover.
Okay. We just bought 12 fruit trees from a local nursery.
Oh, wow.
They're a mix of cherry, plum, peach, apple, and nectarine. We'll be planting them in a well-draining area with a deer fence around them. Is there anything else we need to consider when planting?
Listen to that. They asked you before they planted. That's your favorite.
Well, yes, and sometimes even before they buy too. But
Yes.
that's another thing. But yeah, they like well drained. Don't plant them too deep. Make sure that root flare is above grade. But again, the specific trees you might want to do a little more in-depth research on them. Make sure you give them space. Because essentially, if you want to harvest them, you don't want the trees to grow tall because the farther away from the ground the fruit is, the harder it is to get. So what you want and what you'll see in orchards is you're going to have low, wide trees.
Scary looking trees in apple orchards.
Yes, that's true.
In the fall,
Yep.
they're
Yeah.
so scary looking.
Yeah, because you basically cut the tops out of them so more sunlight gets into them. So make sure you plant them farther apart than you probably
So they can
think
reach out.
Yeah, now maybe you have a small space, but because if you grow them together, their canopies will grow together, and then most of the canopy will grow upwards, and you want the canopy actually to grow horizontal and be closer to the ground. Sadly, that's closer to the deer, but it
Yeah.
also, if you have a way to prune up higher and you want to let a tree grow a little higher, that's fine. But again, trees close together will tend to grow upright because they're reaching for sunlight. Trees that are open, that are farther from each other, will grow wider.
Okay.
What about part two? You got to ask that part. I'm curious about that.
Do cross-pollinating varieties need to be next to each other?
No, they can, they can be,
Around.
again, it happens all the time. You have a fruit tree, and somebody 4 houses down actually has a fruit tree.
It's
and
the
sometimes,
bees.
So it's a little bit of that, but a lot of it's wind pollination as well.
Oh, wow.
So the pollen floats through the air and pollinates the plants. So they don't necessarily have to be right next to one another.
Okay. I have a tree that has a grayish, scaly stuff that grows on the bark. It seems to be hindering the growth of the tree. What can be done to get rid of it?
Gray, scaly stuff.
Gray, scaly.
Probably it's lichen.
Oh.
And lichen is symbiotic, right?
It is. Lichen is a cooperative venture between.
Did you hear that,
Yeah.
Lauren?
Yeah, you were paying attention last year when I was here. No, it's probably lichen. I'm not sure of that, but lichen can be blue, green, gray, orange, yellow, brown. It's all sorts of different things. Lichen is a cooperative venture between an algae and a fungus. It lives on the tree. It does not feed on the tree. It does not harm the tree, and it's actually an oxygen-producing organism. So it is a beneficial. It's also moisture dependent, which means years and times of year where it's a lot more moist and cooler, you'll see more of it. Hot, dry seasons, years, whatever, you'll see less of it. So I don't know specifically, but my phone rings off the hook. Oh, my tree's got a disease. No, it has lichen. It's just nature being nature. Now I can't see it. I don't know if that's for certain, but it's probably lichen, and lichen is not harmful.
My friend Foster, who's at my church, who's a naturalist in the Cleveland Metro Parks, big lichen fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking him, hey, what are you really seeing in nature now that's helping you
Lichen.
point to God? He said, lichen. And then he went and showed me all the lichen.
I've been up along Lake Superior shoreline. Lake Superior is very active. A lot of moisture blows up from Lake Superior. I've seen trees that you can't even see the bark. It's just covered in like a half inch, a 3/4 inch thick. All sorts of varieties of lichen. Can't even see the trunk. So if there's any decline happening in the tree, it's not lichen. It's probably actually below ground. Most tree issues originate below ground, soil, roots, etc.
Very good.
When is a good time to trim or prune your hydrangeas?
That depends on the hydrangea cultivar.
Say
I've
it,
said
Tinky Winky.
over and over and over again. It could be an everbloomer. It could be the macrophylla. It could be the paniculata grandiflora. It could be the lace caps. It could be oak leaf.
The Tinky Winky.
Pinky Winky.
Okay, sorry. One of them is from...
Po.
Tinky Winky's a Teletubby, Brian.
Sorry. Forgive me. I messed up my hydrangeas and Teletubbies.
So it just depends. Now, most hydrangeas, if you shear them to the ground, they'll come right back. But many varieties of hydrangeas set buds for the next year, this year. So if you shear it to the ground, you'll cut off all the buds. So it'll grow back. You just won't have any flowers.
The flowers are so beautiful in hydrangeas.
So it just depends. The macrophylla, the little puffball, red, pink and blues. Then you have the lace cap, which are the shallower looks, and then some are ever blooming. So if you don't know the cultivar, do a little research on that. But you can prune both in the fall and in the spring.
But you don't prune yours. You don't touch it. Right?
I prune out the deadwood, because after 2 or 3 or 4 seasons, they'll get deadwood in them. So I wait. Some of them, sometimes I wait till the spring until I can see which branches, which canes are starting to leaf out. And then if I don't see any leaf out, then I know I can cut that back.
I bet your neighbors spy on you all the time to see what you're doing so they can copy you.
I hardly. It's what my parents used to use the phrase: "The cobbler's children have no shoes." I'm so busy taking care of everybody else's yards. I do nothing in my yard. I have clematis to plant. I bought a clematis.
If I was your neighbor, I would be staring out the window like, "What's he doing? Oh,
what's John doing?
Maybe we should do that."
No, they're just like who is that? Who is that hermit over there who never comes out of his house because I'm always lecturing?
I have a question. We seem to have a problem with wild chives or green onions spreading and growing in our front yard and flower beds. How do we get rid of them?
How do you get rid of dandelions? You can't. It's in nature. There are herbicides that will actually kill the wild onions or the wild chives, but they're very, very aggressive, and it'll be a constant process for probably, I would say, maybe the next 30 to 40 years.
So just eat them.
Oh,
so, yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I just cut mine, took them inside, and washed them.
And you can eat them.
And it was good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. So yes,
as long as there's not yucky stuff on them.
Yeah, so I don't imagine you can actually start a little chive or an onion stand in your neighborhood.
I could maybe. We got lots.
Yeah, literally, and it's below ground, so you have all the little
little buds.
Right, some of them come up, some of them don't. So you could spray, and you might kill those, and it draws it down into it. And then later in the season, because they're a cool season plant, so they come in the spring and the fall when temperatures are like this. They love this time of year, which is why you see people's lawns that are 3 inches tall, and you see the onions that are 6 inches tall sticking out there. So it'll be a constant battle, but there are herbicides that actually will kill wild onion as well as the dandelions and whatever else you might want to get rid of.
Now, my wife and I always have the dandelion debate. I feel like I've failed as a man if I have too many dandelions. And she is a staunch defender of the dandelion.
It's the system, man. They just want you to kill the dandelions, man. No, it's
she's like, they're beautiful. You can eat them. You can. They're pollen. She said they're pollinators.
You can make tea.
Good for the bees.
Yeah, you can do that too. I let them go in the spring, and then usually I'll kind of spray them after they're done blooming in the spring for the pollinators when they have others. I'm actually allergic to dandelions, so whatever you do, don't smush dandelion in my face or I'll break out.
Oh, we'll try.
I'll try. Yeah, you find that out the hard way.
That was going to be our sign off today.
Yeah, so I'm just warning you. I have lawyers on retainer. So
leave them alone.
You can, yes. No, it's everybody wants their lawn to look like, guys want their lawn to look like a golf course. Sorry, if you want your lawn to look like a golf course, prepare to become a golf course superintendent.
So true. You've got to have the time and money.
Fungicide. Yeah,
Ron's neighbor's got it going, right? Didn't you say that?
Yeah, but he's retired. He's a single man. He's got time and money.
Oodles of time. Yep.
Okay, so a follow-up is, why are they only the green onions in my yard and not my neighbor's?
The neighbors might actually have some sort of an herbicide regimen.
And you haven't thrown them over the fence yet.
Yeah. It's a possibility with that. So yes, you can eliminate them, but it usually is a multi-stage, multi-phase process because they're, like I say, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
I'd rather have the wild onions than dandelions.
Well, I got both, so come on down.
A lot of onion dishes this spring, huh?
I made some steaks and I sprinkled it on our steaks.
Did you? You did
Yes,
it just like
look
the
at
guy
you,
in the
fancy.
meme.
Just like this. Salt Bay. I'm Chives Bay.
Look at you.
Hi, Cranky. I want to kill the weeds in my yard, but I'm concerned about the butterflies. I hear all the weed killers that's being applied to grass is killing off our butterfly species. Is that true? And if it is, what can I do in place of that?
It's only partially true.
Oh.
Part of the reason is because people have the research, a lot of the research done on things like herbicides, even some pesticides, it's all done in the lab. Very little of it is actually done in the field. Now, there's plenty of research that's done in the field. So results that you get in the lab are often different than what you get in the real world with that. So I actually, the bigger issue for me is too much lawn. People want to have more lawn and less. So if we get rid of less lawn, if we have less lawn, we have more flowers, that will actually help the pollinators and the butterflies. Yes, willy-nilly application of pesticides, yes, that can be a problem. But you know one of the other big problems for that? Too much light. We light up the night. We never, nature.
Butterflies like it dark.
All insects have an element of their life cycle that's involved. So instead of having time for them to decompress, shall we say, we light up the night. Nature designed, God designed all of us, plants, insects, trees, whatever, to have extended periods of darkness. And thanks to a couple of guys, but like Edison and Tesla, 150 years ago, we light up everything. There's way too much night lighting.
Wow.
So we need to cut back on the night lighting, actually, and that's a part of it. So all of these things act together. But so if you're going to use, a lot of times what I don't do is I don't use systemic. So I don't put down a fertilizer with like a weed killer in my lawn. What I do is I do a little bottle thing, what's called RTU, the little spray bottle, ready to use, and then I gently go up to something and spray one little area. I don't just stand around and just spritz everywhere. And so there's a lot. People do that all the time. I see landscapers doing it all the time. There's a lot of drift. Non-target. So yes, if we can reduce that, that would actually be a good thing. But it's more complicated than whatever. So if you wanted to use something to kill the crabgrass and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. I would just suggest reducing the area of your lawn, making your flower beds bigger. If you plant a tree in your yard, don't put a I'm showing my little bucket here for my little tree here. Don't make the tree ring like 2 inches wider than the pot. Make it 6 feet or 8 feet wider. Make it really large, and then we have less lawn, and then you could plant some flowers, some perennials or annuals, whatever for that. So it's a very complicated issue, but that it's a part of it. But if you're, I like to be I'm a minimalist when it comes to treatments. So you can still do it and still use it, but there's a lot more factors than just herbicide or pesticide use.
Spritz, don't spray.
Sure.
I feel like that's the summary.
All right.
Target spritzing.
Target spritzing.
Yeah, and don't stand up and stand up 6 feet.
Spray it into the wind.
Yeah, bend down.
Yeah.
Now
actually spray the actual plant.
Yeah, get 6 inches away from it. That's what they will say to use, but most people don't. They just take the sprayer and hold it 3 feet above, and then it drifts everywhere. So, and don't do it on windy days. Go out on a calm day.
We've got a first-time texter.
Oh,
the Gonzalez family. Hi, they love our show.
Hey, what's up, Gonzalez family?
They're from Rocky River, so just saying hey.
Well, and we should send them something.
I think we should send them something.
They're a first-time texter, and they have a question for the Cranky Arborist.
No, they're just saying hi.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll send you something. I'll text you. We'll get your address.
All right. Love first-time texters and callers. It's 8:32. We're up against a break. When we come back, he's the Cranky Arborist. He's the ASPCA of trees. He's ready to answer your questions. Text or call 440-546-2255.
There are many ways to say,
I
love you, Mom. I love you, Mommy. I love you, Mom.
We have an idea. Enter our Moments with Mom contest for a chance to give your mom, mother figure, or yourself a $550 gift package, a gift certificate for a day at the spa, and a $100 gift card to a variety of restaurants will go to a mother who reflects the love of Christ. Go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland or text MOM to 440-546-2255. We'd love to help you say,
I love you, Mom.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from businesses across the country like Fellowship Home Loans. Whether purchasing or refinancing a home, Mike and Brian walk hand in hand with clients through the whole process. You can learn more about their approach to mortgage lending at fellowshiphomeloans.com.
Get up, get ready, and get going. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
8:34. He's here in studio answering your spring gardening and lawn maintenance and tree care questions. John Palmer, he's a certified arborist. I get that right? Certified master arborist.
Yeah,
I
get it
demoted
right.
you.
Come on.
Sorry,
Well,
John.
Technically, it's ISA board certified master arborist.
That's on that page.
Their title, not mine.
Get it right, Brian.
But,
Goodness.
He's a cranky arborist.
And ISA is the International Society of Arboriculture. So just to give them their due.
I mean, everyone knows that. ISA.
Arboriculture.
Okay, questions, 440-546-2255.
There's some videos out that you can grow potatoes in a tower basket. Is this possible? Do you have any advice?
Underground things need soil. So the more soil you get, the better that they can be. But there's all sorts of stuff on the internet. So I suppose you can. I don't honestly.
If you want a good potato, though, put it in the ground.
I don't do much gardening, so I know there's a lot of people are just disappointed with that. So I don't have the best gardening advice. But my suggestion is, if you're looking for stuff online, I would refrain from making major decisions based off of Grandpa's garden blog or Aunt
Petunia.
Aunt Minnie's, flower, whatever. I like to go to the .edu sites, so you get like extension university type stuff. So I'm sure you can grow almost anything anywhere, but how much work is it worth? I used to grow strawberries on my porch. I used to love it. And I'm just like, I would get like 4 strawberries and it was all this work and fighting the squirrels. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to the grocery store and getting some. It's a lot easier. Maybe I'm just getting lazy as I get older.
The only exception is I've heard from astrophysicists who really can't grow potatoes on Mars.
Oh, well.
Like that was
Matt
just
Damon.
for the movies.
Yeah, well, just keep the door closed anyway.
How did pear trees get on the invasive species list?
They're not actually fruiting pears. They are ornamental pears. They're called calorie pears because Joseph Calorie discovered them and hybridized. And it's Pyrrhus caleriana. There are 4 major varieties of ornamental pears. They're not fruiting pears. They're not edible pears.
It's not a Bartlett pear, isn't that what they're called?
No, it's Cleveland, it's Bradford, it's Aristocrat, it's Chanticleer are the 4. It's because they were thought to be sterile. But they're not. The fruits actually are viable. A lot of people 50 years ago or 70 years ago really thought that was going to be the case. They were brought over from Asia to help with the fruiting pear crop in the Pacific Northwest because it was resistant to something called fire blight, and the pear crop was being devastated. So they brought this in, and then they realized that this thing grow this cute little short, tall tree, and it's everybody could plant it underneath wires in front of people's houses and underneath the utility lines. The problem is it hybridizes and it crowds out native species because it will grow anywhere. It hybridizes with other pears around. It's also a very weak wooded tree, so when they get bigger, they tear apart. The first trees to come down in the storms oftentimes are the pear trees.
So if you see one, cut it down.
No, because if it's on your neighbor's property, that could involve lawyers. But no,
Okay.
it's on the. You can't buy them, sell them commercially here in Ohio anymore, as of a couple of years ago. And in many states, it's like that. But they're a non-native. They're invasive. They're not a long-lived tree. They're just not a good quality tree.
All right, we'll jump to the phones. We've got Debbie in Canton. Debbie, what's your question for ISA board certified master arborist John Palmer?
My question is there a way to get rid of ground elder if you don't want it? My mother-in-law transplanted a plant years ago, and there must have been a little bit of it with that, and it has taken over our beds.
There's all sorts of things that get, snow in summer is another one, but there's a lot of names of things. And so I have to go with Latin names because that's how they classify them. So in order for me to find it, a lot of those things, yes, this is one of the reasons, one of the dangers of getting, something from your aunt or your mother-in-law or your friend down the street. Oh, I got this really cool plant, because you can get stuff that you didn't realize was in there, and they can bring stuff. If those plants grow underground with little stolons, like underground roots, it's incredibly hard to get rid of, because wherever the plant is, there you already have the runners, if you will, that are already 6 or 12 or 18 inches. It's really, really difficult to remove that stuff.
Just dig out the whole bed and put new soil in there?
No, nobody's going to do that. So that's just, we can pass on that. No. But what you don't do is you don't use a tiller. You don't do a rototiller, because all you do is chop up all the little runners into dozens and dozens of new ones, and then spread them everywhere. So if you feel comfortable treating with something, you can treat with a glyphosate or a weed killer, something like that. It's incredibly difficult. So it'll be an ongoing process for probably many years. Unfortunately, I know I'm the bearer of bad tidings.
Thanks a lot, mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Debbie, thanks so much for the call.
Why do my lilac bushes not grow lilacs? They have lots of leaves but no flowers.
If you shear them, lilacs actually set buds for the next year, the previous year. So if you do any pruning after about a month after they bloom, you'll actually cut off the buds for next year.
So leave it alone this year, and it'll bloom next year?
Well, technically, in theory, yes. Now, it depends on the type of lilac. Do you have the common lilac, the Syringia vulgaris, which is actually the Latin word for it? Vulgaris is common.
The vulgar lilac.
Or you have a Miss Kim lilac, which is a short, rounded shrub. If you shear them every year, you'll shear the buds off, or a lot of the buds next year. So just know that
those smell good. Those plants.
Yes, they do.
My wife loves those things.
Yeah, they can be very beautiful. It's easy to regenerate them when they get older, because they regrow from the roots with that. So I don't know what your pruning practices are, but if you prune them more than, say, a month or so after the bloom, so realistically, if you prune them any time past May 15th or May 30th, something like that, you're probably cutting off buds for next year.
All right, we got another call here. We got Mike on the line. Mike, what's your question for our friend John Palmer?
Hey, John, this is Mike. Because of the recent windstorms, my oak tree in the backyard has a couple branches that are hanging, and touching the ground. And I'm a little concerned about oak wilt, and do I trim these branches, or do I just leave them until January or February, and trim them off?
Well, if you can reach them from the ground, yes, oak wilt, you basically don't want to prune oak trees in the warm weather from roughly April 1st to October 1st, because oak wilt is transferred, or can be transferred, by a bark beetle that's attracted to the fresh cut wood. What I actually do is, if you've got a pole saw, you can cut them off. But what I do, and if it's under maybe an inch, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, because the surface area is so small there. But if it's larger, if they're 2 or 3 or 4 inch branches, what I've actually done is I take the pole from my pole saw, and then I actually go to the hardware store, and I buy a little paint roller, like the little tiny ones that are only 2 inches, 3 inches wide, and then I buy a can of that wound dressing, or the spray that you only use the spray for this. You don't spray for other wounds, so we could talk about that. But then I actually spray or paint the roller, and then I take the pole saw and the roller and put it up to the branch and just roll over it and paint over the end of it. So like I say, if they're really small branches, less than an inch, I don't think I think it's unlikely. I suppose there's always a chance, but it's unlikely that something, that you'll be able to do that. But if it's larger, then if you can reach it from the ground to cut it, then, get a little paint roller, spend a couple of bucks there, and you'll spray the roller or paint the roller, and then just.
I can picture Mike's neighbors going, "Look at Mike, he's painting his trees."
Sometimes it does take
somebody get some help.
It does take an explanation at times, but.
We'll see what Mike does, but I hope that helps, Mike. Thanks for the call.
We have a very large, healthy strip of moss increasing in our yard. I know our property is low and stays mushy and damp through the spring. Is there anything like lime that I can feed the yard to encourage the grass to crowd out the moss?
Usually moss, it likes shade, so you're probably in a very shady area as well. Not always. You could be just because it's wet. You need to do a soil test first. So, and I have a brother who owns a hardware store, so I won't. So I'm not trying to diss on the hardware industry, but don't use the little soil test things you buy in the hardware store because they're incredibly inaccurate. But you actually can take a soil sample or have someone get a soil sample, send it to a lab, and see what's going on. So before you put down lime or gypsum or for even fertilizer, does your yard even need it? So a lot of times it has to do with shade. So if you have a large tree, there's probably not a lot that you can do with that. But if it's really, it could be poor drainage as well. So, which might mean, putting a few inches of soil down on top of everything to raise the soil level, the grass level above where the water is. So you don't know what's going on below ground. So before you have a solution there, a soil test is actually a very good thing to do.
Are you pro moss, anti moss, neutral about moss?
Whatever.
Put a girdle on the moss.
If you want your yard to look like a golf course, you don't want moss. I personally don't care if my yard. When I go to play golf, I go to golf courses, so that they do all the work and I don't have to. So it's just a part of nature. So what I'm about doing is not. There's three things, in my opinion, that you can do with nature. You can work with it, you can wrestle with it, or you can destroy it. I prefer to work with nature wherever possible. If you've got moss in a really shady yard because you've got a 95-foot tall oak tree that's shading the backyard, I live with the moss.
I kind of like those three, John.
I would like.
Did you make that up?
I did.
You should trademark that quickly and go to the next conference.
Are you kidding me? You ever gone to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office? I have. I'm not doing that again.
Well, I'm going to attribute it to you. Either something, wrestle with it.
Yeah, you can work with it, wrestle with it, or destroy it. So
it's pretty good, Lauren.
Yeah,
it is good.
I've never made up three things like that.
I owned a landscaping business for 20 years. What do you think the landscaping industry is? It's an entire industry based on wrestling with nature.
Who likes to
One last quick one before the break.
Okay.
How and when do you prune a baby breath plant?
A baby breath plant.
Yeah. So when you go, I know this because of corsages and boutonnieres.
Yes, of course.
Would you like any baby's breath?
Well, okay. If that's what you're talking about, that's it can't.
There's a Latin name.
It can be an annual. Well, there is a Latin name. There's a Latin name for everything. It's the science of taxonomy, Brian. We can talk about that.
Yeah. Of course.
But I haven't done it before. So I have baby's breath in my wildflower garden, and when it comes up, it's great. At the end of the year, when everything dies, I just cut it all back. So that's the only experience I have with that. But that might be something you can find online. But that's for me. I just wait till the end of the year, and then I don't mind like a few dead things in my wildflower garden because I didn't do that so that I can make more work. I just want to enjoy the flowers and come at the end of the year and cut everything down. And
you have a wildflower garden.
I do, a little strip.
That you just plant wildflower seeds every year.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. My wife would love that.
And and sometimes some of the wildflowers came back last year. Some of them, a lot of you have annuals and perennials, but an annual is just a perennial that's out of it's in the wrong location, so it dies every year. So begonias and impatiens, they're perennial. They come back every year in tropical zones. In Northeast Ohio, they die every year, which is why they're annuals. But some of them will come back if the conditions are right.
Question from my wife. She was telling me she saw this thing. It was probably at a .edu website. Maybe
and
not.
Petunia's Gardens.
No, so wildflowers, she said, you get cheap toilet paper from the dollar store, and you get it all wet, and then you put the seeds in there, and then the birds won't eat your wildflower seeds.
Sounds kind of nasty, but whatever.
What do you do to keep the birds from eating your wildflower seeds?
Nothing. They don't eat my seeds.
What do you talk to him then?
No,
you got a deal going.
He's got.
Who knows the guy?
Yeah,
birds. You stay away from this guy.
You think birds are going to John's yard? They know better than that.
No. Are you kidding me? Yeah, just because I plant trees, I'm actually replacing an oak tree. I planted last year because the deer killed it. So
do you cover it with something? You just throw it on the ground and walk away?
No, we sprinkled them on top of the ground and I put an inch of topsoil just lightly in front of it. And if they eat a few seeds, oh well. See, a lot of it in nature is it's a numbers game. How many acorns from your oak trees actually sprout every year if you don't mow over them in your lawn? Sometimes a lot of them. 5 years from now, how many of those are going to be alive? Very few. So in nature, it's a numbers game. So a lot of that's just buy an extra packet or two and just, it's too much work, Brian. It's just too much work.
I'll tell her you said that.
At my age, it's my age. So I don't throw anything down. Don't put cardboard down. Don't put newspaper, no toilet, no weed fabrics, nothing. Because all that stuff is actually bad for soil. So
wow,
we care about soil here, Brian.
I know. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I care about roots and what grows
That's
in
right.
soil, and that's the important thing.
Well, I care about my wife, so I asked the
Please,
Cranky Arborist.
Use all the toilet paper you want if it keeps your marriage intact.
John Palmer, ISA board certified master arborist, aka at the Cranky Arborist on X.
At Cranky Arborist.
Yeah, you sound disappointed in the name that you selected. He's the Cranky Arborist. 440-546-2255. A few more questions in just a minute.
Encourage Foster Care is a private, faith-based foster care agency located in 13 counties throughout Northeast and Central Ohio. Every month, Encourage receives dozens of requests for foster homes in Northeast Ohio. Due to the lack of foster homes, they are forced to turn away up to 80 children a month. Encourage is currently working to expand their services and support. Learn how you can be a part of the solution and help create hope for the community at buildinghopecampaign.org.
There are many ways to say,
I love you, Mom. I love you, Mommy. I love you, Mom.
we have an idea. Enter our Moments with Mom contest for a chance to give your mom, mother figure, or yourself a $550 gift package, a gift certificate for a day at the spa, and a $100 gift card to a variety of restaurants will go to a mother who reflects the love of Christ. Go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland or text MOM to 440-546-2255. We'd love to help you say,
I love you, Mom.
Hey, my name's Brant Hansen. I'm an author and radio guy who did something about 15 years ago that changed my life. That is when I first visited a Cure International Children's Hospital. What Cure is doing to heal the sick and proclaim the kingdom is so brilliant, it's so profound. It is the most Jesus-shaped ministry I've ever seen. More people need to know about it, so I'm really glad you're hearing about it right now on Moody Radio. Please check it out online. It's cure.org/Moody. That's cure.org/Moody.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
8:49, a few minutes left with our favorite. Here he is, one of our favorites. I shouldn't say favorite. I got in trouble for that last week. One of our favorites, John Palmer. He is an ISA board-certified master arborist. He's affectionately known here as the Cranky Arborist.
Yes.
We love him, and he's going to answer your questions.
Do you have any recommendations for relatively low maintenance plants for full sun, low to medium moisture?
Coreopsis, which is a pretty one for full sun. You can do echinacea or coneflower.
Echinacea, isn't that like a? Would you eat that?
Well, it's yes. You can use that as an herbal medicine.
Wow.
Yeah, echinacea. I'm not sure how you would process that from your echinacea plants. Yarrow is another one. Achillea. They're low maintenance. Basically, they grow, they flower. At the end of the year, you cut them down or not. You can do that. But there's some other things that look really cute. People like things like lavender and stuff like that. But lavender and heather, they look ugly after a while, and you have to do
love lavender
such.
Everything.
Yeah,
He's talking about plants. If your name is Heather, he's not talking about you.
So what do you do to keep the lavender from becoming ugly? Because we just planted a bunch of lavender bushes.
Oh, good for you. Lavender bushes or
They're bushes. No, they're shrubs. I don't know what you call
Okay,
them.
well,
They're kind of bushy.
Yeah. You'll see over the years what you'll
Bush-like.
see is they die back. So you can cut them back a little bit. You don't want to go too hog wild, but the problem is it's yearly maintenance on them. So you'll just have to.
Her husband loves that stuff. He loves pruning and all that, right?
He was out last night. I don't know what he was doing or what time he was out till, but he was gardening in the dark.
He's into it.
I did that when I was desperate and needed money. So that's why I did it.
He just likes it. Jimmy, we love your husband, Jimmy.
Nice.
He's the best.
My yard and especially flower beds are filled with chickweed. Why and how do I get rid of it? They have so many seeds.
What's chickweed?
Chickweed. It's a low growing weed. Chickweed is actually easy to pull out, but a lot of times you'll leave roots in there and all that. Part of the thing is some weeds are harder to kill, especially if you're using a weed killer, because of the leaf surface. It can have a waxy cover on it. So if you spray stuff on it, a lot of times it'll run right off. So yeah, chickweed this time of year, it's going chickweed or mouse ear. Chickweed is another one that you'll actually see or whatever. It's just
Their ears are cute.
Yeah, well, and that's why they call it mouse ear chickweed.
They're less cute in my house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Mine don't have legs and a tail. It's just chickweed. So not really. It's like dandelions. It's a yearly thing. You're just you like I say, you can spray it, but you can also just remove it. It comes up pretty easy in the landscape. But it's just, I mean, I owned a landscaping business. Weeds were job security.
Weeds
they came
are
back
weeds.
every year. So yes, thank Adam and Eve, right?
For the weeds.
Yep.
I want to move my daffodils this year. When should I dig up the bulbs?
Generally digging up bulbs later in the season, cooler temperatures. So maybe wait till like September, October.
Okay. This is a first-time texter.
Hey!
Yay!
We're going to send them something?
Yeah, of course.
Yay.
I'll reach out to you to get your address, okay? My husband and I planted 12 holly bushes, male and female, alternating as suggested about 3 years ago. They look like they're dead. It's basically just branches with just very minimal green leaves on them. Do I prune them all the way down to the bottom or just leave it like it is, that the growth is supposed to be, because it seems like they're still the same size as when we planted them?
Yeah, that usually probably has something to do with the planting site. Hollies don't like it wet and they don't like it shady. So depending on the measure of that. So yeah, so you can prune it back so it looks a little better if the things look really ugly, but that's one of the challenges with holly. You have to plant them in full sun, and they need to be, their feet need to be a little drier than most plants. They can't be constantly wet.
That was cute of you.
That is cute.
They have little feet. Listen to you, mouse ears, feet, girdles.
Yeah.
Girdles.
Sorry, it's my more sensitive side.
Yes. How do I get
It's not
rid?
cranky all the time.
No. Sensitive arborist.
Oh,
that just doesn't. It doesn't.
He
go with
doesn't
my
like that.
personality. Yeah, that's just
He
my
doesn't like
personality.
that.
This does not work. Thanks
How
for
do
trying.
I get rid of trumpet vine?
You have a flamethrower.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's.
I have one of those
Sounds
for
kinda fun.
weeds.
horrible. Yeah, it's
With a
horrible.
propane tank.
You could think about doing that, but you will damage some stuff. It's almost impossible because the runners will travel feet underground. So you have one plant. So I don't recommend planting this anywhere near like humanity, because it just grows so vigorously. Because it'll pop up in the middle of your lawn. The only thing that you can do is kill it with like a Roundup or a glyphosate. But you can't spray that on your lawn because it's a non-selective herbicide. It kills everything. The thing that I have tried to do and have been only marginally successful, because really the trumpet vine is laughing at you while you're killing one portion of it. It's like, wait till next year, is I actually get a cloth glove. So I'll put like a little nitro, a little glove, and then put a cloth glove over it. So you can buy them for like $1.99 at the hardware store, and then actually soak that glove in the glyphosate, and then actually touch or pull and touch the plant and wipe the glyphosate on it. But the problem is what's below ground. Every node that's underground is another place where trumpet vine can come up. So no, it's almost impossible. Even if you cut roots, the roots will establish farther away, because everywhere there's a node, there's going to be roots.
He's got his cute little gloves, his mouse ear.
Well, I don't want to kill the lawn. I wouldn't be a very good landscaper if I just sprayed
Right.
stuff and there's yellow spots all over the lawn.
We've got another first-time texter.
Hey!
Yay! We'll send you something too. I have some big maple trees and the roots are coming above the ground. Can I put dirt over the top of them, or what should I do? I just asked John this question during the break for myself.
Be very gentle about this, because you don't want to bury roots. Maybe a couple of the inches of soil, but no more than that, because the roots, a lot of times
We don't understand that. Regular people think roots are supposed to be underground.
Closer to the tree, no, not necessarily. And if what's about the below ground environment, if the ground is too compacted and the roots aren't getting what they need, they'll actually be more surface type roots. Or if it's too wet, they're drowning essentially, and they'll grow higher towards the surface. So yes, you can put some soil over the roots, but I would no more than about 2 inches of soil with that. I tell people if it's close to the trunk, put mulch down. Put a couple inches of mulch and make the mulch bed wider. That gives you less lawn to mess with, and then you don't have to get the lawnmower over. That's usually what people complain about, is the lawnmowers bouncing over.
Yes, exactly.
And then
That happened to me.
you're grinding off the top of the root system. So yeah, don't bury the roots, but fill up the soil between some of the larger roots. But again, within a couple inches. If you put down 4 inches or 6 or 8 inches of soil, it's likely you'll kill the roots below that, because you'll bury them.
I'm just going to leave her.
Sounds
I'm going to leave
terrible.
my tree. She's fine. I just won't mow my lawn over there.
Mulch, like less lawn. You just have to work less time. That's the thing.
Fine. Another first-time texter.
Hey!
This is
lot of them.
Jessica. I have 2 pear trees, but I never get the pears, maybe due to squirrels or something. What's eating my pears? And how do I prevent it?
Well, it depends on what type of pear. Are they ornamental pears with the little tiny pea-shaped fruit, that's what the calorie pear trees are, or whether it's actually a fruiting pear, like you mentioned before, like a Bartlett. So it depends. They need sunlight. All fruit trees need sunlight. That's why orchards cut the middle out of them so that there's no sunlight, so that it doesn't block the sunlight. So it would depend on the type of pear. If it's a flowering pear tree, you will never get edible pears. It's the wrong cultivar. So
could it be a partridge eating?
Could be
the pears out of the pear tree.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the partridges are busy, doing that song thing around the Christmas. So it depends what's going on with that. They could be older trees, but especially if they're shaded, they're just not going to be very productive because fruit growth in fruit trees requires sunlight and maximum amounts of sunlight.
You know what brings first-time texters? The Cranky Arborist. We've got another first-time texter. Yay!
You guys are better have a pretty big prize closet.
Well, we do.
We do.
I have a hydrangea that I moved a few years ago, and it has not bloomed since. It gets full with leaves, but nothing else. Could it be planted too deep?
That's a possibility with that. It could be might be too wet in the so if the area is just if it's too deep and you can raise it up by digging it out and putting like a few inches of soil underneath it in the hole and then putting it back in, or it just could be not enough sun. It depends on the variety too. Varying degrees of how much sunlight they actually need. So oftentimes, it is. But if the below ground conditions are bad, then you're going to have problems with most
the
plants and
flowering.
trees. It could, or if they shear them. That's the other thing. If they shear them, you might not realize that you're cutting off the blooms for next year.
There you go.
Is it too late to trim apple trees or oak trees?
Apple trees, probably. You can do some selective pruning, maybe a branch here and there, but I wouldn't do wholesale pruning. That should be done in February or March, really, before it buds out. Oak trees, technically yes, but if it's for safety issues, but get
out the paintbrush.
Get out the paintbrush, or call an ISA certified arborist. You can find one near you, by the way, by going to the website trees4ohio.org. And put in your zip code, and then you'll come up an ISA certified arborist. So it depends. If it's a little branch on an oak tree, probably okay. But larger pruning of that, you really want to wait till the end of the summer, at least mid to late September.
What's the website again?
trees4ohio.org.
And that's where you can find an ISA board certified master arborist.
Or certified arborist or municipal specialist, whatever. It's from the Ohio chapter of ISA.
Can they find you there anymore? Or
They can.
Are you still doing your thing? I thought you retired from all that.
Oh, no, not at all. I do consultations all the time. I got one.
Oh.
I had one canceled this morning because her baby has a fever, but I'm going to one this afternoon. So I had 4 of them on one day last week. So yeah,
John Palmer,
including one of them who was a listener.
Oh wow,
yeah,
nice.
Out in Westlake. So I'm going out to Westlake today.
It's a term of endearment, by the way, Cranky Arborist. He's a very nice man.
I do my best.
You're probably doing whatever you're doing wrong in your yard, but he'll help you.
Then this is where Brian and I are going to talk off mic, because this is like. There's just so much to know, and sometimes
that's why you need the expert.
But that doesn't mean everything you're doing is wrong. It's just like I feel like Zeus with lightning bolts. I'm going to throw lightning bolts at people, going, "Oh, you're horrible," because
everything I've done is wrong. I can tell you that.
And usually you can see that in your yard. You get to see the trees, and you're like, or the plants are like, "Yeah, they're not doing well." It's like, well, here's why. So that's okay. There's just a lot to know, and that's why I share my information. I'm only going to be here another 40 or 50 years, so I can't take it with me. So I want to share as much of it as I can.
Well, we love you, John Palmer.
You're very kind.
When should we have you back? Middle of the summer? Is that a time to do things?
What, you think I could not talk if I did a weekly segment?
This is true. We'll have him back. We can promise you that.
If you have me back tomorrow, there'd be 17 questions about hydrangeas, and we all know that.
And which kind again?
It depends. You want
the Pinky Winkies.
Paniculata grandiflora. Or the tardiva, if you like those. I like tardiva, actually. They're a fall blooming, late summer blooming.
I'm going to get in trouble, John. We got to go, but thanks for coming in. We'll talk to you next time, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Moody.